Can you feel it? Nothing can save ya, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline. On what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style or pimped out style. You don't understand the logic. See, if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. It might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed. So just relax, just hear a dope ride. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and just hear a dope ride. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Your entertainment at the same time, edutainment. In other words, you could call it bent. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hit the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gag. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills, cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. It's your dope ride. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and hear a dope ride. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax. My mind state, now balloon, it won't inflate. Just take the buzz, this much wiser kid, fuck the shade. And take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Dig a hole, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling. People's vision get blurring, their hearts start murmuring. I'm about 5 times iller than a Sherman. Introspection is God's gift to the miracle. I freak material, lamb's milk without the cereal. When MCs say your booty, they mean venereal. Your fake material hip-hop pillars, they more faking than fucking Michael Jackson and Thriller. The status of a hoe, Quanto Costa. They wanna know how much it costs, kid, I bet for keep to me.
Just relax and just hear the dope track. The rhymes is real tight, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat. Just relax
and just hear the dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that.
Alright.
It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax.
Alright now, well, we had the State of the Union today. And it was quite boring, to be honest. It was quite boring, and I did watch it. I was at work, and I watched it, and it was boring. And I bear witness to the worst public speaker on earth, which is Donald J. Trump. I mean, he has elementary school level speech. You know what I'm saying? It almost makes you wonder, did Donald Trump ever go to school? I mean, really, I'm serious. And I'm not saying that for people that haven't, where school was a money thing or there were issues like that, because obviously that's not the case with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is fucking rich and grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth and can't formulate a goddamn sentence. I mean, it is what it is. It's terrible. It's terrible, man. I mean, we're not even talking about like some what excuse is there for having everything economically in your favor, and yet education wise you couldn't even figure out how to make a goddamn sentence. I mean, Donald Trump is foul. But before I get into my commentary and my reaction on the State of the Union, because the State of the Union is fucked up. We all know that. We don't need Donald Trump to tell us that. I mean, and if you're waiting for Donald Trump to tell you the truth about anything, you are the dumbest person on fucking earth. Okay. Like at this point, you should know better and look in the mirror and smack yourself if you're waiting for Trump to tell you the State of the Union, even let alone the truth. Do you need Donald Trump to tell you the state of the fucking union? I mean, what is he going to do, man? What's he going to tell you? It ain't what it looks like. I mean, what the fuck? He could have told you that in 2 seconds. It ain't what it looks like, folks. I'm out of here. But no, he dared stayed around. Now, it was only 20 minutes, but hold on, let me slow it down. First, before I give my reaction to Mr. Trumpty Dumpty, I had a few reflections before this point. I mean, because look, we can get ahead of this point. We don't need to sink into Trump's State of the Union shit because it's just something that is completely a waste of everyone's time. It's a waste of everyone's time. The man put nothing into it. It is not even to be considered real. But, you know, for the sake of YouTube and the sake of politics, yeah, I want to give my reaction to it, but political commentary on it. But there's some other things that are more important, like this election coming up. This election is more fucking important than the State of the Union. Americans don't need, and nobody at this point needs anyone to, especially Donald J. Trump, to tell them what the State of the Union is. It's fucking clear. You got everyone's attention. The United States has everyone's goddamn attention with Donald Trump, like glued in on them. They know what your GDP looks like. Guess what? It's faltering. They know what your dollar looks like. Guess what? It's sinking. They know what your job market looks like because it's fucked up. and the information is all over Earth at this point. I mean, people listen. People in Cambodia know how many jobs were lost this year. Last year under Trump, the whole fucking world knows. It's not a secret. You know what I'm saying? It's not a secret at all. You know. They also know that the Epstein files hasn't been released. I mean, the Epstein files is the top story on Earth, and everyone knows it hasn't been released. You know what I'm saying? Like, it hasn't been released. And that was Trump's big promise on day one. That was Kash Patel's stick your chest out moment. He knows exactly who has the black book. And you know what? You can get that released on day one. If only I was the head of the Fed, I would do it. He got his head of the Fed job and ain't get released. So I mean, if you're waiting for Trump, please, man, just go watch any other. Turn off legacy media TV in the United States of America and turn on anywhere else. Dumb fucking stands television. Go there. Okay. Say, you know what I mean? Go to the place. Go to the place. What was that movie about the dictator made and shit by that comedian? What's his name? Sasha or something. But in any case, turn that shit on. That's their television channel on, and you will hear more truth there. But in any case, something more important, the election. Podcasters, entertainment podcasters, the ones that cover these, you know, how can I say this? Topics that aren't really more important than your motherfucking taxes. Topics that aren't more important than your goddamn mortgage. Taxes that aren't, I mean, programming that is not more important than your health care. Please, this year, 2026, please try something new. There seems to be some rule about certain podcasters that can't chime in on anything that is relevant to everyone's goddamn life. And please don't make that mistake again. The last election, we saw a lot of podcasters focus on fancy cars, focus on entertainers. What's the gossip today? Whose girlfriend is screwing over what boyfriend this week? You know, yo, I'm sorry, but those stories aren't more important than your goddamn family's health insurance. Those stories are not more. I'm not saying don't cover all the other bullshit that gets covered. I'm saying stop removing the most vital and important stories to your life from your podcasting. You know, that would be my request for podcasters this year, because a lot of people watch, folks. And yeah, it's a shame to see so many people not be politically savvy, not have any understanding of what's going on more than just Democrats and Republicans, you know. Yeah, because guess what they're watching? They're watching shit that's designed to make you not take any interest in your real life, in your taxes. Right. And so please, podcasters, this year, even if you're doing entertainment podcasting, please consider the fact that what's going on in your own country, outside of entertainment, in the political realm, is also worthy news. Please, it could also be entertaining. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be boring. You can spice it up. And then the other thing I wanted to say before I get into this is that I talk a lot about the tax system, the difference in the tax system between the U.S. and Denmark. And I realize when I'm talking about it, there's one thing that I'm not being specific about, because again, the generalizing, sometimes it becomes like a magic trick in itself. People often look at the tax rate that you pay, and I said that, growing up in Washington, D.C. myself, even though I live abroad, growing up in Washington, D.C., we paid like 33% taxes. When you add them all together, all sales tax, everything, federal payroll tax, state payroll tax, all of that, sales tax, all of that stuff together, right? You pay about 33, and that's also similar to a lot of major cities on earth. And thanks for those of you, thanks that are joining me today. I'm glad you like my programming enough to show up and listen and also give your critiques. That means I'm important to you. So I appreciate that. You use your time on me. So I appreciate that. But also there's a thing about the, here, there's 39%. That's what I pay here in my taxes, right? What do you get for those taxes? We get health care. We get universal education. That means anytime I want to go back to school, I can go back to school and get a stipend. That, whether it's technical school, whether it's university, that's also applies to my kids too. Universal health care. What does that mean? That means anytime I need to see a doctor or anytime I need an operation or anything like that regarding my health, it's already accounted for in the tax system. Now, but that's 39%. Now, a lot of people think, on a basic level, oh, wow, 39% is more. That's a bigger number. Yeah, it is. But let's not forget to talk about deductions, and that's one of the things that I forgot. Actually, I think the average person in Denmark gets more deductions than even in Denmark. Even in the U.S. Like, seriously, me, myself, I get around $12,000 in deductions a year, right? Deductions. Tax. That means before that 39% is taxed, I have to first get $12,000 US dollars that isn't taxed at all. That's what I mean by deductions. So Americans get less deductions in the same tax bracket. Just something to think about, especially when you factor in that 39 to just something to think about for grown folk. And I know it's not funny, and it's not about Puff Daddy, and it's not about a fancy car, but it could be about your mama's home, could be about your kids' health care. It could be about your elder care for your parents. It could be about your child's education. Yeah, it could be. That might be worthwhile visiting in on every once in a while, you know what I'm saying? Even if you enjoy all the other podcasting, and no pun to you if you do. Every once in a while, seldom I check in, you know what I'm saying? But every once in a while, but seldom. It's seldom, you know what I'm saying? Because I can do the grown folk shit every day. That's normal for me, you know what I'm saying? I like reading the newspaper. So having said that, let's get over to the news. And thanks for allowing me to drop those little jewels on you to start with early, just something, because I like to go back and think, wow, a lot of my listeners, they do want to know about the tax system. And I forgot, that's something maybe I didn't make clear enough. Deductions, not just how much you pay in taxes, but deductions and what you get for it. Purple, what's up? 45 Roni, what's up? Ellen, what's up? I appreciate you. Yeah, Purple, good morning. Now, and anyone else who has a brain, anyone else who's not a robot. Now back to the Trump situation. Trump was lame, but that was what people expected. Nobody expected a Superman to come out and solve their problems. Nobody expected that, and they didn't get that either. They got the same old lame ass Trump with a bunch of excuses, which doesn't really hurt anymore because people are kind of used to that with Trump. They're used to getting excuses, so it's not like it felt before. Before it was like, it might stung a little bit, like, God damn, don't you see? But now the guy is totally out of touch with reality. He's totally out of touch with the average American. I mean, the point when you have MAGA people showing up at your motherfucking home with a gun, with a shotgun, and these are MAGA people that never even thought to pick up a gun before, but Trump gave them a reason. Trump is giving people that never held a gun before in their life. This dude, he didn't even like guns and shit. And somehow even Trump found a way to get a gun in his hand and have him standing out in Mar-a-Lago like, where is this motherfucker at? Yeah. I mean, Trump inspires people in some of the strangest ways, and it's usually violent. It's usually violent. That's the one. He doesn't inspire anyone intellectually and shit. It's not like you left the State of the Union feeling like, damn, you saw something deep that was life moving. No. You saw something crappy, something that is just like devoid of any purpose. It's like anything Trump does, it does the opposite. State of the Union was the exact opposite. You didn't learn nothing there was no commentary about the State of the Union. It was completely devoid of any experience you have in that state. And you didn't expect to hear anything anywhere close to what's relevant and what's going on to the state. See, you didn't even expect to hear anything relevant. So you've graduated, folks. Congratulations. Congratulate yourself. You are now in the realm of reasonable. You are in the realm of reasonable if you didn't expect to hear shit out of Trump's mouth, because you didn't. You just heard verbal diarrhea but in any case, he had a few tricks up his sleeve. But here is what they say it was supposed to be like before it started. Let's see here.
We're going to hear a speech that is a celebration of 250 years of our nation and our nation's independence.
But with midterm elections less than 9 months away, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says President Trump's State of the Union address tonight will focus largely on the economy.
The president will lay out the case
economy
for why he and Republicans are better suited to continue tackling the affordability crisis that was created by the Biden administration and Democrats on Capitol Hill.
This speech comes as the president's signature policies, from tariffs to immigration enforcement, face pushback in the courts and Congress, and during week 2 of a partial government shutdown impacting the Department of Homeland Security.
He will call on Democrats in Congress to reopen the Department of Homeland Security.
Lawmakers and Americans at home will also be listening to what President Trump says about Iran.
Yeah, and what he says about Iran. Now, who I don't know. You tell me. Where does Palestine, where does Israel fit in your dynamic with the country right now? I mean, and I'm only asking that. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm just curious right now because I'm thinking that Americans are really thinking about their pocketbook right now. And I think that's reasonable. I'm not saying people should forget what's going on around the world, but it is obvious that you can only control so much. And when the control of you being able to pay your monthly bills, put food on the table, when that becomes something that is being affected, usually people don't really take interest in the other things. And, I'm just saying naturally, because, I mean, at some point people just think like, I'll be damned with the rest of it. Look, this is what we need to focus on right now because these problems are at my door. Right. And so I'm starting to get that, like, Americans know that Trump can always pull this thing with the military and with Congress, too. But with the military and and invade or bomb somebody. You know what I mean? I mean, this is going to go on and it's going to go on. And this is why you don't want, you just have to pick your presidents wisely. You got to. Presidents have some power. They could be very basically foul in how they behave. They can go beyond what their what the norms would be, And they do have some extension internationally. They have some ability, according to the Constitution, to take action internationally. So that's one of the things you want to think about. Now, of course, Trump ran on the exact opposite thing. He promised the exact opposite. He wanted to get out of the world. The reason why MAGA didn't vote on health care is because MAGA said, first, before we get to health care, we don't have enough money to do health care. Let's first move ourselves out of all this money spending at the Pentagon and out of the world's, purpose. Stop fighting everybody else's battles. Stop fighting Israel's battles. Stop fighting Ukraine's battles. Stop fighting every single country's battles because we don't have enough money to do health care and fight everybody else's battles. Of course, most people never did the math, so I could see why a person would think that. You could do both, but obviously, there's more to this story, right? I'm talking about economically. There's room to do both, obviously, right? But there's also something else to the story that never comes up. But in any case, they promised to step out of the world, and they still in the world. Look, this is the State of the Union. This is 2026, Wednesday, February, right? And they just talked about what? They just talked about this.
Week 2 of a partial government shutdown impacting the Department of Homeland Security.
He will call on Democrats in Congress to reopen the Department of Homeland Security.
Lawmakers and Americans at home will also be listening to what President Trump says about Iran. And Americans at home will also be listening to what President Trump says about
Iran. Exactly. So these foreign wars are still on the table. Right. This is the second go around with Iran. This is not even the first one. We already bombed them under Trump. Trump wants to go back for bombing 2.0. So that was the case. Now let's just see some data before we listen to the lamest. Some data points. Yeah. Before we listen to part of the lamest state of the non-union that I've ever heard in my life. Obviously, we ain't going to watch the whole goddamn thing because it's pointless, right? Come on. You guys aren't that stupid. You don't need to watch this shit again. But some highlights. But let's see here. Here's some data about what they say is going on in the U.S. And correct me if things are better. Let me know. Is legacy media telling the truth about, when they collect these surveys? Are they being accurate? Or are they trying to deceive the American people? Let me know what you think. Let's see here.
Your take with what you're looking at on how people are feeling about how Trump is doing in this moment.
Yeah, okay. I would borrow the phrasing of Tony Blair, of course, the former Prime Minister of Great Britain, saying weak, weak, weak. It was weak over there in the United Kingdom. It is weak here in the United States when it comes to President Trump. Okay, Trump's net approval rating. Look at all the pre-SOTUS polls, the State of the Union. Look at this. Okay, we're at this point. Look at that. Negative 27 points. My goodness gracious, the snow is up to the knees here in New York City, and Trump seems to be well underneath it at this point. Compare that to where he was in 2020, 2019, and 2018 in term one going into those State of the Unions. Minus 10, way lower now. Minus 15, way lower now. Minus 15, way lower now. The bottom line is this. Donald Trump has never been weaker going into a State of the Union address, according to our CNN polling, than he is right now, and weaker by a considerable amount.
So this is his first term to his second term. How does it compare to other presidents at this point in their second term, though?
Yeah, okay. It's not just that Donald Trump is breaking records compared to himself when it comes to State of the Unions. He's breaking records compared to other presidents at this point going into a State of the Union. What are we talking about? Look at all the 21st century presidents on your screen right here. About at this point in the second term going into the State of the Union. Trump at minus 27 points. Obama was at minus 15 points. George W. Bush was at minus 11 points. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to know that minus 27 points is considerably lower than minus 15 or minus 11. So Trump isn't just weaker than he's ever been going into a State of the Union address. He is weaker than any other president this century going into a State of the Union address at this point in their second term.
You're talking about it all throughout the show as we're going through these numbers, but talk about what is driving this drop for the president.
What is driving this drop? I said record was the name of the game when it came to this segment, right? Talking about the lowest Trump has ever been going into the State of the Union, the lowest that any president has been this century going into a State of the Union at this point in their presidency. It is also the weakest that Donald Trump has ever been with independence. Look at this drop. We've been talking about it the past few months. At this point, a year ago, Donald Trump was at minus 13 points. Look at this, minus 47 points among independents, the lowest Donald Trump has ever been in either of his 2 terms as president with independents. That is driving these numbers. When you're 47 points underwater with independents, that's the name of the game. You can't be above water overall, and that's why Donald Trump is near record lows overall and the lowest he's ever been going into a State of the Union address.
We have a new CNN poll out this morning with President Trump's approval rating.
Actually, there's a report that was issued there, or they're expecting to be issued by the Democrats, where it says that their position on Palestine affected the election, the outcome, the support for Kamala Harris, i.e., I'm not too sure. I agree it affected it, but to what degree? There's so many things that affected this election. Number one, there is no excuse whatsoever for voting for Donald Trump unless you are the victim of a whole lot of disinformation. I mean, the man, he lied to you and you believed it. And then you believed it because you listened to a lot of the spook stories about Kamala Harris. And I witnessed the stories myself. I mean, listen, they literally tried to say that Kamala Harris' great-great-grandfather was a slave owner. They did that to stop black people from supporting her. And a significant amount, more than ever, of African Americans did not support Kamala Harris. And it is directly related to those lies that they said about her. Like, straight up, they did. And you can't tell me any different because I met plenty of them and listened to their stories last year before the election. I know how they think. I bothered to ask them questions in detail. I bothered to let them speak their own minds while I listen. And there's a substantial amount of African Americans that didn't vote for Kamala Harris for some dumbass reasons. I'm just saying that. Those were stupid reasons. Tariq Nasheed is a dumbass, a professional dumbass, and people listen to folks like him and don't go out to vote, or they vote against their best interest. I mean, anybody that thought Trump was going to do anything better than Kamala Harris is a stupid fuckhead, like straight up. You can never, the fact that you couldn't put 2 and 2 together with Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Epstein, and Trump, the fact that you couldn't put together the fact that these people hate you and want you dead, see you as poor pieces of shit and poor trash, the fact that the average American, who some of them are poor trash, couldn't figure that out, it's only because of the mass amounts of disinformation. And also, I would blame legacy media for not doing a great job at explaining the disinformation. And obviously, it's because they got a tax break. I mean, they got the biggest tax break that's ever been given to the wealthy in the history of the country. So obviously, they're not going to help too much. You know what I'm saying? They might follow the trends and go in the direction that they think the public wants them to go, but they ain't going to solve all the, issues for the public. They ain't going to make it that easy. So people are supposed to know better. This is the day and age of technology. There was no reason why anybody couldn't research who Peter Thiel is, who Elon Musk is. I mean, I don't get it. It turns out that these people are nightmares. It turns out that these people want you dead. And I'm talking about American citizens. If you're not in the United States of America, you're safe because you haven't let these scumbags in your country yet. But for the people in the United States of America, we're talking about surveillance equipment. We're talking about facial recognition devices. We're talking about child sex trafficking rings, right? Going on for decades and decades. We're talking about espionage. We're talking about blackmail of Supreme Court justices, blackmail of congressional members, senators, presidents. We're talking about all the worst elements put together, and all of those things could never be better than supporting the first woman that's ever been vice president in the history of the country. Never. There is simply no excuse. You did it because you got issues with misogyny and you have a lot of other divisive issues that mean you won't get health care because you're divided by race, you're divided by color, you're divided by gender, you're divided by sexual orientation, you're divided by class, and that's why you won't get universal health care. So it doesn't matter who gets up there, you will always vote for the worst. You will vote for the person who's not saying universal health care. You will vote for the person who's not saying child care. That's why you will do it, because you're divided. So acting like there's an excuse why it made some sense. No. You fell for the misogyny. You didn't trust the first woman that came in proximity of the White House. You couldn't trust her, but you trusted a fucking rapist. That's you. You got to live with that now. That cycle is over. Of course, that's in the past. You have the opportunity to change in 2026 to not make the same mistakes with this impending election if you choose to recognize your faults. If you choose to recognize your faults, you have opportunity. So do not complain about having no opportunity. You have ample opportunity to change your fucked up ways and do something for yourself finally. I mean, I'm just going to say it like it is, man. I can only say it the way I can say it. Don't act like you don't have a fucking choice. Learn from the last election. Learn what fucking happened wrong and fix yourself. Do you know there's nuances? Don't you know it's not going to always be as good as simple as bad and good, bad and good? No, there's going to be some nuances there. There's no one you're ever going to be able to vote for that is fucking perfect. So drop it from your head. This is not fair. This is not the fantasy world. You see what I'm saying? This is not Willy Wonka's chocolate factory where everything is candy and ice cream. Okay? You see what I mean? It takes some women have to bump some shoulders to get in position sometimes. You think that's easy? You see what I'm saying? People have to bump shoulders sometimes to get in position. You think that's all easy? You see what I mean? You think they won't make some mistakes? But what you voted for with Donald J. Trump wasn't a fucking mistake. It was on purpose. These people purposely want to fuck you over and have been doing it for a long time. So that's completely different. Give yourself a break, America. Give yourself a break. Wake up from this slumber. Wake up from it, and I've been watching the news. I know this report is coming out, and I agree. Palestinians have had it hard. Palestinians are the underdog, and no matter what their situation between Israel and Palestine is, no matter how it started and no matter what the stories are, our motherfucking tax dollars we need to get control over our tax dollars, and we need to expect some outcomes that have not happened yet. We need to expect some outcomes, So for me, I agree. Palestinians have had the short end of the stick the entire time. No question. It's about colonialism. Colonialism is not good. It's bad. It's what we're supposed to be fighting against. However, did Kamala Harris lose the election simply because of that? I don't think so. But in any case, we could always review that. Let's hear some more data points.
At 36%. That's lower than President Biden was at this point 4 years ago, and it's down 12 percentage points since a year ago, just last February. Just 32% of Americans say the president is focused on the right priorities. 68%. Nearly 7 in 10 Americans say he is focused on the wrong things. This morning, the president had this to say about tomorrow's address.
Greatest economy we've ever had. We have the most activity we've ever had. I'm making a speech tomorrow night, and you'll be hearing me say that. I mean, it's going to be a long speech because we have so much to talk about.
What does greatest economy that we've ever had mean? What does that really mean? That's a talking point, obviously, because every president that's ever existed in the last 50 years has the greatest economy they've ever had. You know what I'm saying? Even now, even though it's slowing down the GDP because of Trump, it's still the greatest. But it depends on how you look at it. Do you look at it in a holistic way, the economy, or do you just look at one data mark? It's $2 more than it was last year, so it's greater. You know what I'm saying? That shouldn't be the only aspect that you see, that it's on numbers by number signs, that it's a little better. No, you need to also weigh out how many jobs did you lose? How much have the cost of goods gone up? You need to compare it and qualify it with all the other factors that go hand in hand with economy. That's cost of living, cost of housing, cost of goods. You see what I mean? Cost of healthcare, right? These kind of things. And also, how many jobs were created? Were less jobs created, or is there a slowdown in the job market? How does that affect it? Is it great when you're the one who lost your job? Is it great when you're the one that has to pay more for everything and you have less? Is it great? Is that great? Is that the greatest economy ever? I don't think so. I don't think it makes any sense. But Trump's going to say that. Why? Because on paper, it might look like that. But, yeah. Again, you get what you vote for.
By a terrific group of reporters. Kristen, I'm going to start with you. And we just showed the overall approval rating. But the story is deep in the poll with several of the key demographics. I'm going to start with independence. This is one of the most remarkable stories here. If you look at where the president was in January of 2021, this is January 6th, the attack on the Capitol, this is in the middle of COVID, 32%. Now he's at 26% among independents, which means only a quarter of independents in the United States of America approve of the job that he is doing.
Yeah, and he's very aware of that. Now, of course, I don't think any of us are surprised that he's going to be giving a long speech tomorrow. Long in his terms, though. I mean, that seems like it might be really...
Yeah, there was a lot of election fraud going on this election, and I hear you. Who elected Trump? I hear you.
Really long.
I think it was 90 minutes before.
Right. I mean, if he's calling it long, it might be a little bit of a doozy. But, when it comes to independence, when it comes to the job that he's doing, there is a lot of frustration inside of the White House. It's not as though he is not seeing these polls. We know that he is reliant on these polls. We know that he is seeing polls on a regular basis from his own in-house pollsters. And that's why you're hearing a lot more frustration when it comes to the president, when you're hearing him give these speeches saying essentially, even just now in this event that he was doing with these angel families, talking about how the media never gives him good coverage. He never gets credit for anything that he's doing. He believes that this is the media's fault, that this is his own PR's fault. And that's the reason that he's not getting the credit. And that's why the polls are bad, not because of what he is.
Yeah, but legacy media is biased towards the middle class and the poor. In the United States, legacy media is biased because, notice this. Notice how you can never get a story about how, taxes in the U.S. compared to the EU. Notice how you can never get a story about healthcare in the U.S. compared to the EU. Notice how they never really explain some of the fine points of these things. Education in the U.S. compared to the EU or other Western nations. Notice how that's not a priority story. You know what I mean? And you're not going to be able to make good decisions if legacy media is not, covering these spaces where the average person intersects with. The average person intersects with the cost of education. Why? Because you need money to get it. And if you don't have enough, that matters. The average person intersects with healthcare costs. Why? Because if you don't have enough money, you ain't going to get it. You see what? And you still pay taxes into it, even if you can't get it. That is crazy. Something like 22 to 28% of the federal budget goes into Medicaid and Medicare. Did you know that? That's all paid for by taxpayers, by payroll taxes, even by the people that can't even afford the deductibles and the copays after. They're still paying into that system. And this is what is currently going on right now. This is what's called normal and regular in the United States right now. And notice how legacy media is not picking up on it. They're not explaining that. There's a lot of Americans that don't realize they pay into Medicaid whether you get it or not. There's so many Americans that don't realize that. There's so many Americans that don't know that the U.S. military is the largest socialized project that the United States has. The U.S. military. I mean, actually, is it even? I don't even know. Is it the military that's more, or is it Medicaid? But they're both huge. They're both huge. The only thing is that you don't get, you still, a lot of the healthcare is private. Part of it is private. So even though you pay into it through your taxes, everyone doesn't get it because they can't afford the copays and the deductibles after all the extra fees they have to pay. But the military, they all get their dollars from you. You pay for the whole thing. Everybody, whether you can afford healthcare or not, you still pay into that military budget. And it's the same thing about the congressional members. The government, the entire government is funded by taxpayer dollars. You know what I'm saying? And you're the one that can't get shit out of it. It's crazy. So there's a lot of Americans that pay into stuff, and it's more than healthcare across the board. Across the board, right? Military. You pay into the military, even though you haven't seen the military protect your life not one day in your life. When was the last time you literally saw the United States military stop a bomb from blowing up in the United States? Stopped a missile from hitting the United States? You haven't. United States military is usually used to protect private corporations' trade. That's what it is. That's what it normally is for. You know what I'm saying? I'm not dissing it. I'm just saying that's what it typically gets used for on a day to day, right? It doesn't actually get paid. It doesn't come in and save your life inside of the U.S. That's not what it's doing. You see what I mean? And on top of it, it's paid for by the middle class, right? The middle class pay for that, right? That's all socialized, 100% paid for by the taxpayers. Yet the healthcare is not like that. Why is that? Why is it the healthcare is not like that? But you pay 4 times more for your healthcare, and a lot of it is paid for by taxes by people that can't even afford to get access to it because the extra fees after. So it's really like a failed system. But legacy media, how many minutes have they spent on it this year? How many minutes do they spend on it? How many taxpayers are affected by that story? Versus another story. So I mean, I would just say CNN, even though we're watching CNN, they got that tax break. You didn't get that tax break that Trump gave out, but they got that tax break.
It's focused on.
It's because how people feel out
Yeah.
there. And you obviously every day talk to people who are on the ballot in just a few months.
Yeah, and can he actually, I know the answer to this question, but I'll just ask it anyways. Can he actually show some empathy to what the American public is feeling right now, which is not, everything is so great, the economy is amazing, this is the best ever, and trying to...
Yo, who said that? Don Cassie said bullshit, all classes pay for it? Bullshit, Don Cassie. That's what I said in the first place. I said all pay for it, but everybody can't access it, you dumb jackass. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth. It doesn't matter that you support Trump. You're still supposed to pay attention. Supporting Trump doesn't give you any type of excuse on not paying attention. Okay, that's not a magic wand.
Trying to cheerlead his way into convincing Americans that they're not feeling how they're feeling. Can he move in a direction saying, look, we understand there's pain right now that people are feeling. We are working on it to deal with it in X, be very specific. We're dealing with X, we're dealing with Y, we're dealing with Z.
Somebody said Nancy Pelosi destroyed my stimulus. Okay, but this is what I'm trying to figure out by Americans. How come you can never get past any of those points? You didn't get past Nancy Pelosi. You can't get past Trump. Can't get past Obama. Can't get past Kamala. Whenever you're talking about healthcare, you can't get past none of them. Whenever you're talking about education, you can't get past none of them. Whenever you're talking about your stimulus check, you can't get past none of them. Whenever you're talking about inflation, why do you think that is? When are you going to get to the point where you want to take a look at how it's done in every other Western nation versus your own? When do you want to take a comprehensive conversation up about how much you pay in taxes and what you actually get for it? When do you want to do that? I'm trying to do that. Why don't you join me in that conversation?
That's not.
Matter of fact, let me put I'm gonna put the link down for the hop ups. That's if any of these people are not trolls.
Not really
let's
in Donald
find out if
Trump's
they
DNA.
let's find out if they're not trolls. I want to hear their accents.
So I think we can expect him to try to convince a very skeptical American public. Like tomorrow is going to be probably his biggest audience he's going to have before the midterm elections, and his opportunity to try to reset some Americans.
So this is the pre commentary, obviously, leading up to the dumbest state of the Nat Union ever on earth.
Perceptions of how the job that he is doing in office, but this midterm is going to be a reference.
I mean, you could have went out and asked a crackhead about the State of the Union and been more informed and shit. You know, go ask a meth head in Ohio. They will tell you more than Trump told you. I'm sorry to say that, but it's facts.
Which is why those numbers are freaking out Republicans who are going to be on the ballot in November.
Yeah, I mean, independents are, I mean, not only the swing voters.
Dirty Clean, can I ask you a question? What percentage of the federal budget, that is the federal dollars being spent every year, go to Medicaid and Medicare and healthcare in the United States of America? Can you answer that question, Dirty Clean? That's the conversation for you. Help us out with that conversation.
But they are the sort of telltale sign of where things are headed with regard to the next time there's a major election, and it's really, really bad for Republicans. The Latino vote, this is another stunning change for the president. This is 1 year ago. If you look up on the screen, 1 year ago, February of 2025, 41% with Latinos. Now it has literally plummeted to 22% approval rating among Latino voters.
Yeah, and
I didn't expect the answer.
that was really one of the big questions from the 2024 election, was whether the support that the president had gotten from Latino voters will hold. We started to see some cracks in that coalition, thinking back to the New Jersey governor's race, where Mikey Sherrill made up a lot of ground with the Latino voters who had shifted towards President Donald Trump. But there's frustration within the Latino community about those same issues troubling everyone: cost of living and the economy, but also the approach to immigration. And so it'll be interesting to see if there is any way for Trump to kind of gain that type of ground back, but also what it means for other Republicans. I'm thinking about all those districts down in Texas where you have large Latino populations that they felt were shifting towards Republicans. That may not exactly be the case in the next midterm election.
And Emily, I know you're seeing some of this already play out in the special election in Georgia to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was down there last week, and this is a group of people who are reliably conservative, who helped send Trump to the White House.
So, Marjorie Taylor Greene, how do you rate Marjorie Taylor Greene? Was she honest about Trump? Put a 1 in the chat if Marjorie Taylor Greene was honest about Trump. Put a 2 in the chat if she was dishonest about Trump. Let me see. Now, don't skip out on the poll. Put a 1 in the chat if Marjorie Taylor Greene was honest about Trump. Put a 2 in the chat if she was dishonest. I'm talking about, her latest views about Trump. Yeah, exactly. Let's pay attention to who doesn't have an answer. Exactly. That's what we're talking about. No participation. Right? I got it. I understand. No problem. I'm not expecting it, though. Not expecting it, really. So no worries.
House twice, but they're also independently minded, so they don't like being told what to do. They don't just listen to the president based on what he says now that he is in the government, which
I think she was honest. I'm waiting for Dirty Clean. Where you at, Dirty Clean? Was she honest or not? See, look at this. You can hear me and block me or do whatever. You see that? Dirty Clean can't answer a question. So Dirty Clean is just here to only one-way talk. Just talk. Just talk. I'm reading Dirty Clean's comments. I'm asking Dirty Clean question, and Dirty Clean can't answer a question. A simple question like, was Marjorie Taylor Greene honest about Trump and her latest views, or was she dishonest? It's very simple.
And so you see one of the main issues that is resonating with those folks is still immigration. And so the White House feels pressure, I think, responsive to that base, responsive to others like them, to keep hammering that issue home, but then it is alienating some of these other voters who you talked about. So it's like a delicate dance.
Look, if you don't know who Marjorie Taylor Greene is, you either are not American or you definitely are not a Trump supporter. Yeah,
on the polling about how the demographic groups, he's really underwater with
You know, that's just like admitting to be a troll and shit. I support Trump, but I don't know who Marjorie Taylor Greene is. Okay, I get
everybody.
it. I get it.
I mean, he's struggling with Latinos, black voters, where he made gains with black voters, at least did better than previous cycle. He is really struggling with black voters, with younger voters. It's just across the board, which is what's so stunning about those numbers.
He's plummeted.
Look, if you don't know who Marjorie Taylor Greene is, you're not American, and you're definitely not a Trump supporter. So that's all you need to know, man. In any case, yeah, go do your research. You know what I'm saying? Now let me just pull this up for people that want to hop up in the chat. Hop up on the stream. Let's see.
On young voters, pretty much the same amount that he did with Latino voters. And then just looking at the issues that people want the president to talk about in his address tomorrow night. I mean, nothing even comes close to the economy and cost of living. It's really stark.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. This election is going to be a lot about national issues, simple issues people can put their hands on, can wrap their fingers around. Everybody needs health care. Everybody needs affordable health care. Everybody needs access to education so you can improve your life, so you can improve yourself in the job market, right? Isn't that what access to education does? Yeah, it gives you more skills, right? So you're not standing still, right? Unless you got a decent union job that pays for your new classes or something like that. But we know in the United States, that's likely not the case. Now, fair housing. Everybody needs a decent apartment or home to live in that has a fair price to it. Those are issues everybody can grab onto or should be, concerned about, right? I think it's really going to come down to those things. Why? Because a lot of the foreign things, a lot of Americans, they don't have any clue how it connects with their life. To be honest, they don't. And you could see that in how they vote often. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not one that says the United States should pull out of the world. Nah, I understand why the military's out there. It's to protect trade routes. That's what it is. It's to protect business, American business. But if these American businesses don't give a goddamn about the consumer in the United States, then I say, fuck it. Very simple. If those same business people, billionaires that are making all that money off of that trade and the citizens' tax dollars are going to paying for the military to protect those trade routes, if they don't believe that the average person should have a right to fair housing, to a decent wage when they go to work, one that pays their bills if you work 40 hours a week, and not one where you got to have work 60 and 70 hours a week just to pay your bills. If the average business person in the United States doesn't believe that the average American should have a dignified life, then I say, fuck it. Don't support the military protecting the business people anymore. That's what I say, But in any case, here, let me put this up. Let me see. You can hop up on the stream, hop up and let people hear your voice. Okay. Here we go. And this is the link. I'm going to put it in the chat and let people hear you. I like to do that because I like to know who I'm talking to. And you can kind of hear that from, you see that. Peace out. I'm out of here. Exactly. When people get the opportunity to hop up, they don't want you to know what country they really come from or what their real ethnicity is. So then they usually, I'm out of this motherfucker. See you later. Now, there's the link in the chat. You can hop up. You can speak. You can let everybody know what you sound like so people have something to qualify your comments with. You get to hear me. You get to see me. You get to hear my voice. You get to know all kinds of shit about me and my perspective. Come on, man. Share with the people. Y'all share with the people. Come on, let the people know who you are. What's up, Netherlands? I see you. Yeah, let people know who you are in this conversation. I'm over here in Copenhagen, by the way, Figment, just in case you don't know. American living in Denmark. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. And it's very cool. Kudos to me for living here. Yes. Kudos to all the Americans that live abroad too, because we're not experiencing this bullshit. Trump is a motherfucker, man. This is the most idiotic president on earth. Why would I want my fucking taxpayers paying my tax dollars pay him anything. Nothing. Elon Musk don't get my tax dollars. Peter Thiel don't get my tax dollars. Donald Trump don't get my tax dollars. And none of them. Clarence Thomas don't get my tax dollars. None of them. No. They're not doing too well. I mean, the moment you have people out there saying that you kill kids and shit and you rape kids, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. And I don't want you getting my tax dollars. But in any case, let's move on to the next little thing that happened here. Now, when Trump did give his speech, right, I heard that this happened. This was kind of interesting, and I'm always for this kind of stuff because, you know, it's insulting. I think the whole idea, the State of the Union was pretty insulting in general. And just the fact that people have to watch that bullshit is kind of, and listen, I'm talking about to Trump, have to listen to someone who really doesn't even care about the State of the Union, gaslight people and be like, hey, this is the State of the Union, you know, things are doing really well. Didn't you know things were doing better than what the Democrats were telling you? In any case.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country.
She said you're a murderer of American citizens. And I get that. I love that. You know, that's true. You know, Trump is a murderer of American citizens. And that's nothing new, apparently, because he's got little kids saying that he kills people. He kills little kids. Have y'all heard of Sasha Riley? Have you all heard the audio tapes by Sasha Riley? This is one of the people that, heckle his ass. Sasha Riley is a man now, but he gave an account of where he insists that Trump and Epstein tried to traffic him when he was a child, and that Trump assaulted him several times, and not just sexually but physically and other ways, tried to torture him. And so people should know about that. These audio tapes are damning, and he's not the only one, but what's interesting is that he's a male saying it. Trump has others that have said that he has played a role in a baby being murdered, right? Being thrown into Lake Michigan. There's another person. They're saying that that a young girl had her head blown off, somehow related to Trump and Epstein, that they were trafficking her. Trump has people saying horrible things about him. And what I'm curious about is, like, how far does it have to go on before he is impeached? I mean, is it normal? Because listen, nobody's saying I killed them. There's nobody accusing me of raping their ass. There's nobody saying these horrible things about me, and yet I'm not the president, and you have a president, and there's loads of people saying, I mean, he even said himself he was the best friend of Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years. It's like, this is sick. It's sick. It's not normal. I'm not saying I should be qualified to be president, but I'm saying if he is, motherfucker, of course I'm qualified too. I'm way more qualified if Trump is qualified to be the fucking president. Like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck is, make no mistake about it. If you choose Trump, homie, the fucking clown is qualified to be the president. It doesn't get lower than this. At least so many more people would have empathy for young people, would have empathy for the meek, right? Would have empathy for those that suffer. Trump got no goddamn empathy, man. None at all. None. None of these people do. Look, MAGA Mike Johnson, cold-blooded, doesn't care about anybody on earth. I mean, I don't even know why right-wingers vote for him. He's a total stooge. He's a total stooge for Donald Trump. J.D. Vance, leprechaun, shapeshifter. Man would change his opinion as long as you give him $1. Like, he is in the pick-me club. The guy is from he's from Appalachia, from West Virginia, I believe, or Ohio. He's from the Appalachian Mountains. Poor part of the country, right? You would think he would care about poor people. The man does not at all. He was begging so hard to be a part of the billionaire class. He just jumped ship. Yes, and this is who he is in his real life. His sister was a drug addict from Appalachian Mountains, somewhere in that area, Ohio. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong, but look, you almost see no connection with this man. He has no empathy for what people that are suffering opioid addiction go through. He has zero empathy at all. You see, he just has no connection to it. I mean, he just used it to get into position, to get people to vote for him. And now that he's got in office, you get a chance to see who he really is. He's a person that doesn't care. He just don't care. Yeah, Peter Thiel. Yo, and another thing that amazes me? What amazes me is, like, sometimes when I look at this chat, I see some comments, people that are making anti-LGBTQ comments and things like that. That's typical, right? A lot of jokers come in and do that. I don't know what their point is when they do that. But here's the thing. These are i.e. MAGA trolls and MAGA supporters. But these people are so stupid. They think Elon Musk is a heterosexual man. They think Elon Musk is not gay. They think Peter Thiel is straight. They actually think Peter Thiel is straight. Do they really think Trump is straight? I mean, how many of y'all think Trump is straight? Do you think Trump is straight? Sasha Riley say Trump is not straight. Sasha Riley says Trump is not straight. That's what he says. How many? MAGA Mike Johnson, do you really think MAGA Mike Johnson is straight? And these are the people that claim to be conservatives. I mean, the conservative voters are some goddamn fools in the United States of America. These men are nowhere near conservative. They're nowhere near conservative. They would be liberal if they cared about health care. They would be liberal if they cared about the cost of housing. They would be liberal if they cared about the cost of education. They would be liberal if they cared about women's rights, right? Women's right to choose. They would be liberal if they cared about those things. But no, but they are liberal. They just don't want you to show what type of liberal they are. They are extremist. These are billionaires that want everything their way, and they don't want you to be able to tell them shit about their lives. In fact, they totally cut you off completely from even having any access to your life. You have no, do you think conservative is, what is conservative? Is conservative raping little girls? Is that conservative? Because that's what these people are accused of. Is conservative. There's nothing conservative about them. There's nothing conservative about them. I'm more conservative than any of these people up here. Any of them. I'm serious. I'm not bullshitting you. And I'm not the person to try to judge other people. But to me, conservative means how I live my life. I'm a basic guy, heterosexual man, dude, father, right? What else is there? I don't have tattoos. I don't even have one tattoo. I don't have one earring. I don't have one piece of jewelry. Anybody that knows me will tell you they have never seen me with one piece of jewelry on, never seen me with one earring, never seen me with a tattoo, because the people that actually know me know what my personal creed is. And my personal creed is I want to die the way I came into this world. That's my personal creed, but I don't put it on other people. And I don't vote stupid because of that. I don't go out there and start judging other people and saying, oh, this motherfucker's gay, therefore I don't need health care. I'm not going to share my health care with him. Fuck no. I don't want no gay motherfucker helping me get access to education. Fuck no. You know what I'm saying? I'm not stupid like that. You see what I mean? People choose. You do you, and you choose how you are. That's your right. That's how I look at it. But these people are fakes and phonies. They are fakes and phonies, man. I mean, they're pretending. They're just total frauds, and yet MAGA votes for them. Appalachian Mountain votes for them. Like, what the fuck? I mean, really, it's. Oh, we got to hear that shit again. But they're not USA. That's what I'm saying. They're not USA at all. Peter Thiel has, how many passports do Peter Thiel have, y'all? How many? Put it in the chat. How many passports? How many citizenships does Peter Thiel have? How many citizenships does Elon Musk have? I mean, do you think they have one citizenship? No, they don't have one citizenship at all. You see what I mean? They are not loyal to one citizen group, one nation, and that is the crazy part about it. But yet Appalachian Mountain vote for them. Appalachian Mountain votes for them. You see what I mean? Like, Peter Thiel literally wants to kill poor drug addicts across the country. That's what they want to fucking do. They want to get rid of undesirables. No empathy at all. And yet these people fuck around and vote for him. Like, they vote for Trump, man. Trump will walk these people in.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Now, check this out. What's more of a problem? Is it, notice how illegal immigrants are the source of every problem in the United States of America, according to Trump. If you want to talk about the election, illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants is why we need to manage elections better, because the illegal immigrants are getting there. They're, getting to vote. They're able to vote, even though it's bullshit. But check this out. Let's say there are illegal immigrants that are voting. Let's just say that. It's just an example. Well, what's worse, illegal immigrants voting or the fact that 80 million fucking Americans already didn't vote in the last presidential election? What's worse? Which one do you think is worse? 80 million Americans not voting? Because there's definitely not 80 million goddamn illegal immigrants voting. There's definitely not. There's definitely nowhere close to that. But yet there's 80 million. So why don't they turn the problem around? How come you never hear legacy media and you never hear Trump, Mike Johnson, or any of them say, hey, let's go out and find those 80 million Americans that didn't vote. Let's go out and ask them why they didn't vote. Do you ever hear them saying that? Have you heard legacy media ever say, who are these people that didn't vote? Do you think they could find out who these people are that didn't vote? Put a 1 in the chat if you think they could find out who these people are that did not vote. Put a 1 in the chat if you think they could find out who these people are that didn't vote. I'm talking about legacy media or Trump, right? Put a 2 in the chat if you think they can't find out who those people are. I'm just curious. Put a 2 in the chat if you think they can't find out. Legacy media and Trump and MAGA Mike Johnson, they can't find out who those 80 million people are that didn't vote in the last presidential election. Put a 2 in the chat if you think they can't find that out. Put a 1 in the chat if you think they can easily find out who these 80 million fucking people are that didn't vote. And if that's the case, then why the fuck is that not the problem that they focus on? You see, the answer to that question will tell you what's going on actually right now. It will tell you the real state of the union, the answer to that question. Why aren't they out there trying to find who the 80 million people are that didn't vote and go right up to their door? Knock, knock. Why didn't you vote? How come they're not doing that? Because it's obvious somebody doesn't fucking want you to vote. That's why. That could be the only answer. Someone doesn't want them to vote. Someone purposely doesn't want 80 million people. And who could that be? Who could that be? Could it be the people that got the biggest tax break in the history of Earth? In the history of the country, but the history of Earth, of all human beings? Could it be those people? You tell me. I mean, it sounds very plausible, but at the same time, they will give these Appalachian Mountain people, right? And I'm not just saying it's only Appalachian Mountain, but you should, if you're from Appalachian Mountain, you know what I'm talking about. You deserve a break today, but you ain't going to get it under this administration. This administration doesn't give a fuck about you. They found a puppet in J.D. Vance, but what they will do to keep you strung along, not asking the right questions, is they will do some shit like, have Trump go out there and show Obama in them, trying to make some stupid little comparison to the Obama family and monkeys. And that's what they will do. So instead of going out there and trying to make your life better, they know you don't give a fuck if somebody makes your life better, as long as you can laugh at someone. As long as you can laugh at someone else, they make you feel like, hey, well, at least I'm not black. And you go for it every fucking time.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's really an honor. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States.
I mean, she basically was a model. She was a Jeffrey Epstein model from Eastern Europe, trafficked to the United States of America. That's who people are clapping for, except she's not the one that's going to help the victims.
Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress.
I didn't even see her. Where's she at?
And my fellow Americans. Our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America.
Gold is doing better than ever under Trump's, under Trump's administration. Gold is up. It's still up. Yeah. Dollar's down.
When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record.
Okay. All right. Look, I mean, this is embarrassing that people have to do this when you're dealing with Trump. But let's see here. USA GDP, right? Very simple. US GDP. Yeah, it's really sad because Trump is he's just a liar, right? He lies. That's what Trump does. And legacy media, like right now, obviously they don't stop him, but people are so used to hearing his lies, they don't even bother to correct them anymore, right? But listen, this is the GDP in 2025 right here. For those of you see that, right? That's the GDP for 2025. That's $29.5 trillion. This is the GDP, right, for 2024. That's $29.2 trillion. That's not much of a leap. But before that, under Biden, it was in 2023, it was $27.7 trillion. You see this? You see that? So you can see, obviously, under Biden, the economy grew at a more rapid pace. And you can see when Trump came into power, it slowed down. Anybody can see that. Anybody can do these numbers. These numbers are present. It doesn't matter where you go to retrieve these numbers. These are the international numbers. These are the numbers the United States government concedes to. It's their reporting. You see what I'm saying? But yet, Trump will go out there and say some shit like this.
When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before.
Okay, so has the U.S. achieved the transformation from what you didn't like, all the bad things you didn't like about Biden and Harris, to now? Has there been a positive transformation? Put a 1 in the chat if there has been a positive transformation. And I mean the cost of goods, the cost of healthcare, the cost of housing, the cost of electricity, these kind of things, the cost of living. Has there been a positive transition from Kamala Harris and Biden to Trump? Put a 1 in the chat if there has been. Put a 2 in the chat if there has been a negative transition, a negative impact. If it's gone from what you didn't like about Kamala Harris and Biden to worse. Okay? Put a 2 in the chat if it's gotten worse instead of better. and don't get me wrong, I want it to do better than Biden and Harris. I'm not that I'm criticizing, but why not want it better, right? Things could still be better. I got a whole lot of points on how they could be better, except they didn't get better. They seem to have gotten worse, because when the economy does this, right? When the economy does this, guess what happens when it stops? See, when it's starting here and it's going up, look at that. See, 2021, 23.7 trillion. 2022, 26 trillion. See this? 23, 27.7 trillion. 29.2 trillion. 29.5 trillion. When it does this, somebody's got to get fired. You got to understand this. A whole lot of people got to get laid off when this kind of slowdown happens. It's not, and why is that? Because companies don't want to lose money. And why did this happen? Could tariffs have anything to do with it? Could it have been avoided? Yeah, it could. Could another plan been created that maybe didn't involve chopping your ass off at the head? Firing you and your family member, making the cost of goods more expensive for you right now instead of less expensive. Could there have been another way to go about this? Probably. Would Trump have done it? No, he insisted on not doing it after being told time and time and time again what the effects would be. And this demented ass motherfucker went ahead and did it because it was good for a few that wanted to play the stock market. They wanted to have that up and down thing where you could throw in some money when it's low. You know what I'm saying? When the economy is, and drive it, depending on how you had your bets, if you buy or you sell, to make money, and they ran it like a racket. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, the average American citizen can't play the stock market. You know, the average one doesn't even have $1 to throw into the stock market. If you have 100, what you going to benefit? You know, you might benefit $5 and he will benefit 500 million. Is that how you going to play this game? You know, it's sad. It's sad.
And a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure.
Now, see, they're chanting this, right? Because this is where it is. I mean, to be a proud American, you have to make racist jokes to be a proud American. That's how low it's gotten. To be a proud American, it's not to say, hey, I'm so proud of my country. Every American is going to go to school and get a higher education no matter what the economy looks like. It's going to be guaranteed, because that's how proud we are. That's how we do pride in the United States. That's not how it's done. How it's done is I get to make some little racial tropes. You get distracted. You say it's impossible for everyone to have health care, although everyone in every other Western country does have health care and education. I mean, that's how it's played in the United States. So these people, this is Al Green, Representative Al Green. So he held up, I don't know if y'all could see that, he held up a little sign that said President Michelle and Barack Obama, or Barack and Michelle Obama are not apes. You know what I mean? I mean, this is what he was saying. And Trump did this twice. This is not even once now. It's twice. So this is why he objected. People know why he objected on the floor. And this is the response. USA! Because, see, unlike other countries in the world, other countries know how to be racist and fucking have health care if they want to. You see what I mean? They know how to have a bigoted party at the same time, at least one bigot party. At the same time, everybody has health care. They know how to do both. They know how to walk and chew bubblegum. But the United States doesn't know how to do both. It doesn't know how to do both. They're literally worried about depopulating, right, a certain group, right? They have this replacement theory. At the same time, they're throwing out the very people on the street that they're saying, you're going to get replaced by these Mexicans. You're going to get replaced. But when it comes time to give you a tax deduction, they're not there. When it comes time to make sure you can get in school, they're not there. When it comes time to make sure you could afford the people that are supposed to be worried about being replaced, they can't even afford health care because of this administration. So it's double talk.
Where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure.
You see that? So it's like if you stand against racism, they're proud to throw you out the building. You see what I mean? Of course, it was a conscientious objection that he made, you know, but I mean, this is where it's at. You know, these are the dumbest motherfuckers. I mean this. In the Western world, you're hearing the dumbest motherfuckers representatives on earth. In the Western world, I'm sorry, not on earth, in the Western world. That's what we're literally seeing right here when that USA. That's literally what we're seeing. I mean, and I'm not saying it to be harsh. We talking about fucking ignorant. Just proud of it.
Thank you.
Proud of the ignorance. This is the guy they threw out of the building. And you know, it's hard to say. Some people say other Democrats should have left the building with him. We should all stand together. Things like this, and I understand that, but I just think it's so many problems right now. It's people should just do what they feel like they should do. But here, let's hear what he got to say.
President and First Lady as apes. The behavior has been declared racist by a good many people. But I don't think the President has really received the message that is unacceptable. He seems to think that he can do these dastardly things with impunity. Tonight, I wanted him to have a person confront him and let him know that black people aren't apes, that black people are not going to tolerate this kind of behavior. I don't speak for everybody, but I speak for people of goodwill who understand that if you tolerate this kind of behavior, you perpetuate it. I refuse to tolerate this level of hate that the president is in fact putting into policy.
You know, because here's the thing about it. It's like it's a trap, because people that what they do is people will say, okay, well, maybe you don't like black people, so maybe to you that's funny. But this is how they trick you. Okay, sure, you're willing to watch one group of people be degraded, but see, then in his next act, he's going to be belittling you, who you are. He's going to be stealing and robbing from you, you know. So since you allowed one person to be treated unjustly, now he's going to move over to do it to you. And that's exactly what's happening in the United States. If you're a woman, for example, Trump don't give a fuck about no woman. I mean, that has to be abundantly clear that Trump cares nothing about women. And it has to also be abundantly clear that the only form of discrimination is not anti-black racism. But when we open the door to any of it, we're opening the door to all of it. That's the problem. So, you know, it's like a magic trick to get them to get these people to open the door in it. They say, aha, you know what we will do? We will divide them by putting this out there for them to bite on, this red meat of division. It's divisive red meat, you know. And once they fall for it, aha, now we have their permission to steal their health care, right? Because they're so focused and put priority on being anti-black that they won't mind now. You know, they have a choice. Can I be anti-black today, or can I keep my health care? And a lot of people say, hey, fuck it. I'll be anti-black. I'll be anti-black. Yeah. And fuck Kamala Harris too. Take my health care. I want my sign calling them an ape. And it's a lot of people that do that shit. Like literally this is how it works. This is how it works. It works the same way for women that way. It works the same way for LGBTQ. It works the same way for any group of people. That is exactly how it works. Instead of people focusing on what they have in common, everybody should want a better education. Everyone should want fair housing in the richest country on earth. Everyone should have access to health care. But instead of you having those things, you're getting everything else that's less. While you get the bigotry any day of the week. You get to belittle people openly and laugh about it any day of the week, you know. And so it's so sad, you know. Usually I don't like to, because of my color, you know, I don't need to really talk about racism so much because I know it exists, but it's kind of boring to me, to be honest with you. Not to say that people shouldn't take the issue up, but I mean, for me, I know racism is one form of discrimination that exists, but since I look the way I look, it's not that intriguing to me. You see what I mean? Like, I know that there's other forms of discrimination that have nothing to do with me, that don't affect me directly. Gender bias does not affect me directly. However, I'm interested in understanding it because I see how it also creates a problem, right? For all of us. For all of us. You see what I mean? Walking around caring about who somebody else loves or sleeps with, that creates a problem for all of us, because instead of you thinking about your kids having an education, you're thinking about who somebody else is having sex with. You're fucking weird. You're weird. You are weird. When you have a chance to think about your goddamn kids, you're busy thinking about who somebody else is having sex with. That is fucking weird. That is weird. That is weird. You know? And I'm just saying it. You know, it doesn't make rational sense at all. And nobody else in the Western world does it that way. You know, and Americans need to fucking be told every day of the week so they don't do this shit anymore. So they don't continue to go down these lines. The classism thing. All they got to do is throw out some red meat. Let's talk about trannies. But nobody, you know, these same people that will vote for Trump, they don't know who Elon Musk is getting down with. They don't know who Peter Thiel is getting down with. But they openly, how's my Danish? Jeg taler flot dansk, man. Fluent. Lays us. Okay? Yeah. I read and write and speak Danish well. You know, I read and write better than I speak, but I speak pretty well too. Yeah, so just so you know. Yeah. Jeg taler dansk. Yeah, but it's my second language, by the way. Dansk, det er mit andetsprog. So yeah. Bonjour world. Yeah, and I don't know where you from. Where you from, Chris? You from Sweden or you from Denmark? But in any case, Americans need to be told this, and they need to be told by an American that lives abroad. And I'm a excellent option for that. I'm going to be telling people this shit every fucking day of the week. And why? Because, you know, it's just senselessness. When I take no pride in seeing my country fall to this level. I take no pride in it, you know, and it's just shameful. And I'm just sorry. It's bullshit, man. We got to wake up from this spell. Oh, you from Philly? There you go. Yeah, Tampa. Okay. Yeah. Let me see here. Thorne says, was this when they threw Al Green out? Yeah, this was this time. It was during the State of the Union. They threw him out this time, man. Yeah, they sure enough did. Yeah, but you know, it is what it is. He's an elected official, so he went there to make his point, and I understand that. But in any case, let's go back and hear a little bit more from Trump's lying ass about his State of the Union. Let's hear it. You know,
progress and freedom.
Trump has just been told by the Supreme Court that no, the tariffs that he enacted were illegal. All of them. So that means the United States American citizens, Appalachian, people living in the Appalachian Mountains, people living in the poorest part of the country. That's why I'm saying Appalachian Mountains. People living in the poorest regions of the United States voted for this man. This man, they spent a year paying more for everything. People in Appalachia lost their jobs. They paid more for every single thing there is to buy, except maybe gas. Okay, great. Right? But this man, they had to pay more for everything because this man enacted illegal tariffs that it took the Supreme Court a fucking year to say were illegal. Who pays for the Supreme Court's salary? Everybody, even people in the Appalachian Mountains. Who pays for Trump's salary? Everybody, even people in the Appalachian Mountains. Why the fuck did it take them a year to say it's illegal? Is that what you think is great representation, folks from the Appalachian Mountains? Folk from Appalachia, do you think that's great leadership? Whether it's from Trump or the Supreme Court, do you think that's great? If you think that's great, you're going to die. I'm just going to tell you that. You won't survive what's coming next, you know. You keep that attitude up, you won't be living, you know. And you busy talking about replacement. Yeah, you keep that up, you will be replaced. Like, make no mistake.
The most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth, and you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before.
Yeah, that's why he ordered that the economic reports be delayed weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he's so confident it's better than ever. No, it's not better than ever at all. The U.S. economy is in recession. Recession looks like what we just looked at before here. This is what recession looks like when it slows down. See, this is 2021, 2022, 2023. That's a buildup. 2024. That's a buildup. 2025. Slow down. It made a little more. 29 trillion point 2, 29 trillion point 5. It slowed down from these days what was here and now. So that's called recession. It's beginning to recede, and people react to that. Employers react to that. Markets react to that. The value of the dollar reacts to that. The stock market reacts to it. Yeah. But in any case, let's continue.
And a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages.
Right, so that's Al Green leaving again.
And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure.
Okay, so the border is secure. You heard Trump say the border is secure, right? Is the border secure? Is that true? If the border is secure, how's all the dope still getting in the country? I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out. If the border is secure, isn't that what he was claiming he was doing? Isn't that why he was bombing Venezuela? From what I heard, the cost of cocaine is still the same in the United States of America. I mean, and then secondly, he's talking about the border, man. Listen, what about the manufacturing in the, I'm sure that, Americans aren't the leaders in making meth and shit like that, but damn, a whole lot of motherfuckers make shit, and a lot of American citizens import and traffic drugs. It's not just about foreigners. You know what I mean? But why do they? Why do people get involved in crime? And who are the people really involved in crime? Trump pardoned people that were involved in crime. He pardoned people. Anybody who was involved in crime, it's almost like Trump fucked around and pardoned dope dealers, insurrectionists, anybody, just random people he didn't even know. The person who did the money laundering for the sex trafficking. What company was that? What was that? Was that something finance? I forget that company where they you could buy crypto and all of that shit. Yeah, the dude who owned that. I mean, the dude was a criminal, washing sex trafficking money. That Trump pardoned him. So,
After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted.
Exactly. Binance. Thank you.
And unchecked, we now have the strongest and most
Appreciate that.
secure border in American history by far.
Yeah, that's a typical Trump statement. It's always the best ever in history by far. It's always that. If you go back, look at this. This is just to give you an example. This is Biden, right? He comes in office. Could Biden, oh shit, y'all can't see that. Could he have said this is the best economy that's ever existed in the U.S. by far? Could he have said that? Yeah. Did he? No. Could he have said that this was the best economy that's ever existed in U.S. history by far? Yes, he could have said that. Did he? No. Could he say this was the best that ever existed by far? Yeah. Did he? No. Could he have said this one was the best that ever existed by far? Yeah. Kamala Harris could have said that too. Did they? No. But this is what Trump's saying is. He's saying the recession one is the best that you ever had by far.
In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States.
I mean, what is he talking about? 0 illegal aliens are admitted to the United States. I mean, he's acting like you can't become illegal after you enter. You know, and again, how long is this going to last? I mean, obviously, you know what the plan is, right? The plan is to do nothing about it, pass nothing in Congress, no regulations, no laws, no rules, right? So that you pass the problem over to the next president. It's the same thing with this issue with Afghanistan. You know, he signs the papers, he makes the deal, but he doesn't execute it. He gives the execution over to the next president so you can point the finger at it. And this is the same thing with immigration. He doesn't want to solve any immigration issue. He wants to close down the border. Like closing down the border is like the way you deal with immigration. No, because obviously you need comprehensive immigration. Why? Because you do want people working on farms, right? Don't you want farms to produce food to keep the cost of your food down inside of the United States? Or do you want to import more food? You choose, but you must choose one or the other. You have only two choices. You must choose one or the other, because Americans don't want to make $5 an hour picking fruit. You see what I'm saying? They're just not used to it anymore. Somebody that worked in a desk doesn't want to work in the field. Okay? That's how it works. You know, that's common knowledge. That's universal understanding. Everyone on earth understands that. You know, you don't want to go from a desk job to a plantation job making 10 times less. Okay? That's not going to... You know what I'm saying? It's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? It's just how it is. You need low wage and you need seasonal workers. When it's time to pick the fruit, you might need a lot of those workers coming in for 2 and 3 months during the harvest, you know, or 4 months. Then they can go back to you need a lot of different kind of immigration. That's called comprehensive. All the immigrants don't always come the whole year. Some of them come part of the year and some go, right? You see, but Trump doesn't want to talk about that because he's not going to tell you how many come for part of the year and may stay over. You see what I mean? Hence, they will become illegal. But the question is, why? And what effect do they have on the economy? That's really what you got to look into. You can't just say they're illegal, they're taking my job, if you don't know what kind of job they're taking. Why would you say that? Why would you say someone working on a farm making $5 an hour is taking your job when you can't live on $5 an hour? When you don't want to work on a farm, why would you say that? And if you wanted to work on a farm, let's see some data about how many American citizens want to work on a farm being a picker. Where's the data? You see what I mean? So, yeah, but he got people. He got people on this one. He got people on it. I mean, and again, what's worse? You know, how many million illegal immigrants in the country, or the fact that 80 million Americans didn't vote in the last election? What's worse? You tell me. You tell me. What's the bigger problem? What's the bigger problem? Is it a couple million illegal immigrants, or is it 80 million fucking Americans not voting? You tell me.
But we will always allow people to come in legally.
Aha. See, so we're still going to have immigrants. Right. Got it. I mean, and he ain't saying shit. He's basically saying it's going to continue to be the same thing. The only difference is that now we're going to go around door to door harassing people and fucking over people's lives. You know, the U.S. economy is going to take a hit because people are spending less money because they're afraid to go outside, and they don't even want to be. Even American citizens don't want to be bothered anymore to even be harassed, you know. It's just
People that
easier.
will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year.
And guess who the tariffs were on? He had tariffs on China. China had the least tariffs of all the countries. If I'm correct, China had 10% tariffs on them. And he's talking about fentanyl. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And last year,
I mean, are there less drug addicts this year? Less people on dope in America? Less people addicted to fentanyl? I mean, I'm curious about that.
the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years.
So what's the problem then? What's up? If it's the lowest, then what's the issue? Why are we looking for people, looking for illegal murderers, when the multitude are American citizens by far doing the murdering? But if it's down, then that means it's not really a problem like it used to be.
Year 1900, in fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a
Yeah, exactly. Russia and North Korea have no tariffs. I mean, in any case, I just wanted to hear a little bit of this. I hate listening to this guy's voice.
Winter blues are real.
Yeah, it's a shame that we have this guy as a president, but it's not just about the president. It's also about Congress, about the Senate. I mean, the fact of the matter is that if Congress and the Senate wanted to mandate universal health care and universal education for every American citizen, they could actually do it, and Trump would not be able to veto it. I hope everybody's understands that, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you understand what I mean. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't, and I will take it from there. Congress and the Senate could mandate that every American citizen has universal health care in the United States and universal education as well, regardless of how much money you earn. They can actually do that, and Trump would not be able to veto it. Put a 1 in the chat if you actually understand that. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. I'm just curious because people need to notice how it actually works. It's the same way with the release of the Epstein files. Trump had to sign that, because if he didn't, it was veto proof anyway. It would just go right back to the same people, and they had a super majority, meaning if you have a super majority in Congress that agrees and you have a super majority in the Senate that agrees, it will become law anyway. So what does that mean for the midterm elections? That means don't only focus on Trump. Let some of your anger out on the congressional members and the senators, because they are truly the ones to blame. Like, they are truly, you couldn't have Trump without them. Trump only exists because they allow him to exist. Trump's policies only exist because the Congress and the Senate allow him these policies to exist. The Supreme Court members, they only exist because Congress and the Senate allow them to exist. The moment there's a supermajority in either one, they would be impeached. They would be impeached overnight. It would take 24 hours, not a year. You see what I'm saying? That would save you a whole lot of tax dollars. Have you noticed how your taxes haven't gone down? Have you noticed that? I mean, but yet they keep saying everything is all right, but you're still paying the taxes. It's like, it's not. I don't think that would be a great situation to be in. But in any case, let's continue and see what the breakdown is.
You're alive. We have all just outlasted the longest State of the Union in history. It didn't kill us. We did it. We're alive. We're sentient. Nobody can take that away from you.
We alive. We alive, y'all. Congratulations.
Despite talking for more than an hour and 47 minutes, the longest State of the Union address ever in U.S. history, and by far, President Donald Trump offered very little in the way of policy. If you were like me, you might have even missed what was maybe the main thing he offered. Thankfully, Lawrence O'Donnell was able to get in there and dig it out of the speech and then succinctly nut it up as trading in the income tax for tariffs, LOL. This was not a State of the Union that will be remembered for presidential proposals. In addition to the weird sort of digressions and no policy, it may be remembered just for his awkward verbal cul-de-sacs, like this one about his dad.
Think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago.
So there was stuff like that. The president also shouting a lot through a lot of his speech, a number of times in ways that stretched the capacity of his microphone to handle it. There were many also long, sort of gruesome descriptions of violent deaths and injuries, which he seemed to relish describing in detail with a lot of ad-libbing. There were also his repeated attacks on Democratic lawmakers in the chamber, screaming at one point loudly that they were crazy.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities.
Tonight's address may ultimately be remembered for the indelible image of Democratic Congressman Al Green silently holding up a sign in the House chamber that said, "Black people aren't apes." A reference to Trump posting a video recently on social media depicting former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. That said, perhaps in the long run, tonight will be remembered for the Democratic response. Responses to State of the Union addresses are very difficult, notoriously. But tonight's from Abigail Spanberger was very good, and thus far at least seems to have been very well received. A punchy, clear, effective speech from the new moderate Democratic governor of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger. She essentially kicked off her party's midterm election pitch by taking aim, among other things, at Trump's violent immigration raids, his chaotic economic policies, and, bluntly, his corruption.
Who benefits from his rhetoric, his policies, his actions, the short list of laws he's pushed through this Republican Congress? Somebody must be benefiting. He's enriching himself, his family, his friends. The scale of the corruption is unprecedented. There's the cover-up of the Epstein files, the crypto scams, cozying up to foreign princes for airplanes and billionaires for ballrooms, putting his name and face on buildings all over our nation's capital.
What's
this
that,
is
Rafika?
not what our founders envisioned, not by a long shot.
Facts. It wasn't. Oh shit, 2 seconds. Sorry about that. No, it wasn't what the founders envisioned. But what else can you get right now?
Berger of Virginia. A couple of our new colleagues have joined us tonight, and it's going to be a long night still. Claire McCaskill's here, Eugene Daniels. Claire, what was your reaction to what you saw tonight?
You know, I was thinking about, first of all, there were a lot of Democrats that weren't there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but you'll remember this, Lawrence, that the ambassadors usually sit in folding chairs in the aisle because there's not room for them in the chairs. I noticed some of the ambassadors very excited because they were sitting where normally senators sit. Yeah. You know, they were all like, my God, we got real chairs on the floor. Nobody's here. I noticed no one was there. I noticed that it felt like a game show more than a presidential
or an award
speech.
show.
Yeah,
Yes,
like I was thinking he's going to say, now look under your chair. You know, there's something for you there. And it would not instill confidence in anybody watching this, that this was the guy that we want in charge, deciding whether or not we're going to bomb Iran and go into war in the most dangerous neighborhood in the world. especially the Republicans. You know, you would think at this point they would want him to give a speech that would lead them out of the thicket. Instead, they're going, hey, we're going to follow you right in there. Let's go deeper in the woods and see how deep we can go in there and never come out again politically.
Basically,
it was fascinating to me. And then
basically, they're following. They're still enabling Trump. You know, and I just think there's only one answer for that. You know, if you disagree, make sure you are registered to vote. Make sure you are registered to vote, and then go vote. But the first thing is make sure you register, because they don't. I mean, think about this. If 80 million Americans did not vote in the last presidential election, they are expecting a significant amount of Americans to still not vote this time around. And then all they have to do is tamper with it a little bit, and they will get the desired result. If people sit at home and people don't register, the desired result will come out the same way.
finally, the thing that struck me were the smirks of
Yeah, How to Live. Big up to you. I appreciate that.
Vance and
Watch the flowers bloom. Anza Borengo is desert.
Johnson sitting behind him. Like, they thought it was kind of a joke. You know, they were, oh, isn't he, like, he's clever or he's funny. And it was, if I were somebody that wasn't as involved as I am and as engaged as I am in this, it would have struck me that they were smirking the whole time, like this was something not to be taken seriously. And it didn't feel like America should take it seriously. I don't think this speech is going to do anything for him. And I think it's very forgettable and will be forgotten very, very quickly.
I think it's interesting about Johnson and Vance.
It doesn't seem like his speech doesn't seem like it is matching the tone of the American public right now. Americans are not happy. I mean, anytime you have a MAGA person, look at this. Wasn't this a MAGA guy who did this? Anytime you have a MAGA person show up at Mar-a-Lago with a shotgun that is trying to shoot Trump, that's not good. That means his base is falling apart. You know what I mean? And it is crazy. Oh yeah, I appreciate it. You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, but so his speech doesn't match the fact that just 2 days ago, a person showed up that was a MAGA supporter whose whole family was a Trump supporter, but the person got so pissed off about the Epstein files and the economy, he went there to shoot Trump, his own vote, the person who voted for him. So the energy doesn't match up. It seems like they're trying to laugh their way out of it or deflect from what the average American feels. But it seems like Americans are pissed off. All types are pissed off at Trump right now.
I don't put much stock in kind of body language stuff or whatever, but particularly those two Republican leaders have kind of resting smirk face. Like they both just kind of have that look, which it's an accident that it's the two of them.
Exactly, Chris. Less voters always benefits the Republicans. It's true.
On the panel, but
true.
Both of them kind of have the arms folded smirk as a resting look. And so particularly striking that they never got out of that pose for this whole speech tonight. Eugene?
You know, I have been texting with some Republicans who were sitting in that room. And before the speech, I asked them, I said, what do you want the president to do? And they said, well, we want him to do what he's going to do are very different. What we would like him to do, is to help the American people understand why we should keep the gavel come November. And in no way, shape, or form did he do that, right? And they said that. They're very clear about that. They always say these things in text messages to us, and they never say that in front of cameras. But that is what they said. And I think at the end of the day, this could have been a time in a different presidency where the president would stand up there and say, look, I know you guys aren't feeling what we've been doing. We're going to keep working on it. At the end of the day, we hear you. We're going to fight for you. And we are turning it around. And that is not what you heard at all. Instead, you heard President Trump over and over and over again say mission accomplished. And the American people who are going to go to the grocery store tomorrow will know that the mission was not accomplished on the economy. They don't feel safer with ICE in their streets. And they don't feel safer with the president of the United States talking and fumbling around with what he might do with Iran. And these Republicans that are sitting in that space.
You know, exactly. The shit is fucked up inside the country, and he's talking about invading Iran again after he said they decimated their nuclear arsenal already. I mean, you know, it's just not making sense. And we just here to document the shit again and let it be known that no, it doesn't make sense. And brother's going to be here not every single day, but 5 days a week until this motherfucker is out of office. I mean, and I'm going to remind everybody that, look, I pay 39% tax rate in Denmark. I'm an American that lives in Denmark. If I was living in D.C., I would be paying, if you put all the taxes together, I'd be paying around 33%, right? Except I get about $12,000 in deductions that aren't taxed. $12,000, before I get taxed anything. That's called a fraudral in Denmark. And I think in the U.S. it's called deductions. Americans get less deductions also. Did you know that? So look into that. Here in Denmark, we have universal health care. We got universal education and a lot of other everyone has 5 weeks vacation every year. There's a lot that goes into the tax system here. And don't let these same legacy media people tell you and these politicians tell you that it costs more money, that you have to get taxed more to get it. No, not really. That's not how it works. What you got to stop doing is bleeding your tax dollars to shit that you never see. That's what you got to stop doing. And and what's going on with Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and all, you're subsidizing all of their programs. You're subsidizing all of their private projects because they're going to take that technology that they develop with your tax dollars and they're going to take it and sell it to somebody else. I mean, that's what they're doing, So listen, the United States is the richest country on earth. It's the richest country to ever exist in the human history. There's no reason why American citizens can't have what so many already have in the Western world for far less than they already pay now. So, yeah, but in any case,
Speaker Emerita
Nancy, I'm playing Nancy Pelosi because I know it pisses off a lot of MAGA people. Look, if you're going to be in this thing about taking responsibility and being grown up, it means you got to learn to get past some things that you don't like to be able to benefit from the things that you probably do like, right? So, I'm not a fan of career politicians. Like, don't get me wrong, you need some because you need people skilled in the art of the Constitution and knowing the law. You need people that know the law that well, that are going to fight it every single day of the week. Just like you need lawyers, you need congressional members and senators that know the law that well as well. That is exactly what you need. But me, how I do it is, instead of blaming older politicians, I blame the young people, man. Get out there and run for office, young people. Do you know you don't even need a high school diploma to run for Congress? You don't need a high school diploma to run for the Senate. Man, do you know how many people that don't have nothing to do with nothing run for office? Like, seriously. And all of a sudden you give them your tax dollars every goddamn day. And they listen, straight up, there's no law. If you want change, be active in it. Be active in it. There may be no better representative than you being active in it yourself. Straight up. It's all about how many people can you get in your community to vote for you. And if you can't get people in your own community to vote for you, it either means you're not trying hard enough or maybe they don't like you. One way or the other. But if my view is that if you make halfway sense and people trust you, believe you have some integrity, you can go right there from the block, right up there into Congress, into the Capitol building. Like, it happens all the time. There's loads of people. Some people, their journey is longer and it takes harder, more work. Look at Jasmine Crockett. She's not your typical story, but she's a damn lawyer who took time for her to get into Congress, but she was a lawyer for real. You see what I mean? Not like just someone who came right off the block, even though they try to portray her that way, right? She could be off the block, but she didn't just go from the block without going to school, right? She went to school, became a lawyer, and practiced law in her community, and then she got people's support. But you can do this. Just get involved. You see what I mean? Because in reality, it doesn't even take a high school diploma to run for any of these offices. So, yeah. And if you can read the Constitution. that's what it's all about.
Democrat of California, who is leaving Congress at the end of this all. So thank you so much for joining us. You have sat through a great number of State of the Union addresses, some of them behind the president. What was your reaction to what you heard this evening?
Well, first let me say that I think that Governor Spanberger did a remarkable job just insisting on the truth, which is what we have to do when we're dealing with this president. I thought the speech was lazy. It's one thing to acknowledge patriotism and people getting well and everything when you have absolutely nothing to do with their courage or the rest, but you spend an hour and a half doing it. What is the state of the nation? Okay, so I just a few things to what I was going to call her by her first name, but what the governor said.
Spanberger,
I thought she just really hit it out of the park. But here's the thing. He started off with BBB, his big, beautiful bill, which is, of course, disgusting and ugly. He talks about protecting Medicare. He took $500 billion out of $500 billion out of Medicare in his BBB, and $1 trillion out of Medicaid, which is a health benefit for many seniors in our country as well. What was sad for me was to see when he talked about how many people he took off of SNAP food program for children and the rest, that the Republicans just stood up and cheered, we're not feeding the kids, how about that, that's great. And all of that to give a tax cut to the richest people in America. Food out of the mouths of babies, people off health, millions of people off of Medicaid to give it to them.
Eric, Chuck is 90. Is he 93? Are you serious? Chuck Grassley is not. Yeah, some of them. It should be limits, man. There needs to be limits, and I think there needs to be term limits. Also, I definitely do. But yeah.
Okay, then he goes on to some foreign policy after drifting and all the rest. Some foreign policy. Did he spend a sentence and a half on Ukraine, where democracy is at stake, where American people want us to be there on the side of democracy?
And it's the 4-year anniversary of the invasion today.
Today is the 4-year anniversary. You think he would have risen to the occasion. But his occasion, as I said in that picture in the cabinet room, when pointing to him that day, I said, with you, Mr. President, all roads lead to Putin. If I were president, it would never have happened. Well, you are president. You can stop it.
Madam Speaker, so much of, obviously, number one thing that people take away from watching the State of the Union is the president. But people are also.
A lot of people don't don't recognize this, but Nancy Pelosi, she's the first woman to have a speakership. So people you could be tired of her all you want, but she fought for hers. You know what I mean? And she didn't get it easy. You see what I mean? But yeah. But again, term limits. I think term limits will make the country better. And it's no diss to Nancy Pelosi or any other politician just based on their age. But again, yeah. Young people can get involved anytime they want, and don't underestimate yourselves.
Also watching for the reaction of the opposition party. And your leadership warned the caucus not to have any outbursts, not to take the bait. There was a moment where a couple of members did not, more than one moment, but I wanted to play one of them.
Yeah, facts, Eric. Supreme Court also term limits. Yep.
When a couple did not heed that. Just watch.
And enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens, in many cases drug lords.
You know what? I like Elon, and for this one reason, just in retrospect, watching the media, the truth of the matter is that everybody covered this moment. So she's getting, when it comes to a lot of the voters, when it comes to the frustrations of American people, what she did in this moment speaks more to the average American's frustration than the rest of it, because Americans are pissed off. They're tired of people just being calm about shit. I know you got to be professional, but there's space in an extraordinary situation to be upset and angry too, So
murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
And he's talking about, and you should be ashamed of yourself. But he's not ashamed of nothing. Trump is not ashamed of Epstein files. He's not ashamed of being Epstein's best buddy. He's not ashamed of anything anyone has said about him. Trump has never been ashamed one day of the week, period. He just doesn't care. He wasn't ashamed that he said you can just grab him by the pussies. That's what he said. He wasn't ashamed. Trump is not ashamed. And look at who he's talking to.
Murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Now look, were there murderers in the Epstein files? Yeah, there's murderers, and there's claims of murder of children multiple times in the Epstein files. People, he's telling them they should be ashamed of having illegal immigrants, right? Yeah, whatever they constitute, even though we know most of them don't really significantly contribute to crime, right? But he's saying they should be ashamed of that, right? But he is not ashamed of any of the shit that he's associated with in the Epstein files. He's not ashamed of it at all. Should any of those people be ashamed? Should Elon Musk be ashamed to be hanging out with a person like Epstein, who is alleged to have murdered, trafficked little children for 30 damn years, over 30 years? Should any of them be ashamed to be anywhere closely associated with him? None of them are ashamed. None of them. They say they regret it. They wish they didn't, but none of them are ashamed. None of them are ashamed. They're not ashamed.
They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, that's some pure gaslighting and shit. And you should be ashamed of. You see how good he does the gaslighting too? He's like, he got everything to be ashamed of himself, but he's preaching it and shit. Let me see here. The victim should just name him and hide. Well, we know one thing for sure. It is coming out. It's coming out. So this is just a matter of these people hanging on as long as they can. But this shit is coming out, and the clock is ticking. And it's going to come out one way or the other. And, it appears, in my mind, it looks like things are so bad in terms of what's in the files that's why they're fighting so hard to keep it a secret. Because if Americans knew what was in those files, Trump would probably have more people with guns showing up at Mar-a-Lago. That's what I think this is about. And other people might have that also. That's what I believe.
That was hardly noticeable in the room. It may have been more noticeable on TV. Hardly noticeable. And then also when he started talking about corruption, the members were saying, what about you? What about you? What about you? That was another, more of an outburst than that, actually. I don't think that there was that much, shall we say, departure from what the leader had guided us to do. Don't come if you don't want to come, but if you come, we don't want to give him a moment. And I don't think they gave him a moment.
There was one moment, Madam Speaker, where he called you out specifically around, of course, congressional stock trading. What do you say back to him?
I say back to him, as that's what members said, look at your own self. The inference he wants to draw is there was something wrong with that, which there wasn't. And if there was, people get prosecuted for it. For a long time now, we've been trying to pass this law. It doesn't have, now it has more support than it had before. And
Elizabeth Warren stood up and applauded. Elizabeth Warren stood and applauded tonight when the president talked about it.
Well, we all did. I did too. He said, did Nancy stand up? Yeah, I did too. A lot of people stood up. A lot of Democrats stood up. I think that will pass, depending on what the bill is. I mean, what we had, we thought we could pass. It was actually a tougher bill than Governor Spanberger had put forth. We thought it could pass, but it was clear that it wasn't going to make it to the House and the Senate. But in any event, he gives his shout out. I don't pay any attention to him. What I'm concerned about is our democracy, which he is destroying, even in the 250th year anniversary. but we saved the democracy at the kitchen table to talk about how we help working families with their costs, taking down the cost, not by giving tax breaks to the wealthiest people in the country, by making health care more expensive for them. And then he talks about drugs in America. Well, he freed Hernandez, a guy who sent 400 tons of cocaine into the United States and said he was going to jam it up the throats of the noses of the gringos.
Yep.
He freed him. He had been convicted in a U.S. court. He freed him. It's about follow the money when it comes to him. But let's just be calm. I believe in the goodness of the American people. I think Governor Spanberger's response, I don't know if it's a response, I think it was something more positive than that, really talked about what our responsibilities are. And we believe in the goodness of the American people, that when they are presented with the truth, what the opportunities are, what the difference is, that they will come around to that. And hopefully we can do that in a bipartisan way.
And
All right, hold on, let me say
you're wearing
something.
something that a lot of your Democratic colleagues are wearing, which is this.
Right. So some Dems did show up, obviously, and then many of them invited victims. Trump, you can see Trump didn't acknowledge any of the victims. And that's going to be his angle. To me, that's very telling that he doesn't support the Epstein files being released. He doesn't support the victims. I mean, there was opportunity. He did identify others. He wanted to give out medals to people and things like that. And this would have been the perfect place to also acknowledge the victims and talk about the progress he's been making in releasing the Epstein files. But he didn't even dare touch on that. You know what I mean? Which is very telling. It kind of shows he doesn't have any intention on really releasing it, and he's given up on bullshitting people about it. So, but in any case, I wanted to just go through one more thing. Check this out right here. This is about Peter Thiel. And it's just to illustrate something that a lot of people, maybe need to look more into Peter Thiel than they thought. But a lot of MAGA supporters, they don't seem to really know who Peter Thiel is. And like I've been saying, Peter Thiel has 3 passports. He has 3 different citizenships. And every taxpayer is paying money that they pay when they go to work. Some of that money goes to Peter Thiel's business. Whatever business he's doing with the U.S. government, whatever service he's providing the U.S. government, right? He's getting paid ample money to do it, right? But a lot of people don't know who Peter Thiel is and his views. Now, Peter Thiel has said some things that people, I would think average poor people, middle class, should be worried about, right? Also, Epstein has said some strange things too about that will make you wonder how they value the average person. Do they? Or would they conceive of the average person just being killed off to make room and make space? You see what I mean? But in any case, I thought this was a good story to review because it's about Peter Thiel and who he really is. Now, check this out.
Got going on. But people are in the comments saying, what's the point of growing your wealth when you're already a billionaire at the cost of others'
Yeah, this is a Trapmore Ross podcast.
lives? People are saying it.
Now, check this out. Here we go.
Achieve.
Oh, did it play? Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me flip this over real quick. Yeah, now this whole thing is about Peter Thiel. Peep this. Peep. Let's see here.
Trapmore gang, there are some very disturbing individuals controlling society right now, okay? We heard from the Epstein files, all these creepy, weird men behind the scenes. They're running everything. They're abusing kids. They're doing crazy stuff. But one of the biggest names that keeps coming up as far as demonic, powerful men that are up to no good is Peter Thiel. Now, this guy has been associated with some very, very dark and unusual things. He has been apparently heavily included in the Epstein files. He's mentioned he's all up in there, okay? But there's a bunch of other things that have been going viral with him lately that are very strange, and I'm going to talk to you about them in this video. Namely, the suspicious death of his boyfriend in 2023 and his connections to the streamer.
So you see that? The suspicious death of Peter Thiel's boyfriend. You see? And this is what makes me wonder. Like, you have to think about this. These guys, allegedly, they pay for a lot of bots and a lot of trolls. Elon Musk does it. I'm presuming Peter Thiel does it. Epstein even did it. I mean, he may have been one of the inventors of troll farms, right? Now, what they do is they spend a lot of money with trolls online to make talking points that benefit who they are, benefit what their character is supposed to be in the public, right? So a lot of people would assume that MAGA, since MAGA is anti-LGBTQ, right, that Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Trump would also not be LGBTQ. They wouldn't be, in other words, they wouldn't be active in quote unquote gay lifestyle, right? But it's the opposite. It's actually turning out to be the opposite. Now, I don't understand why people have a hard time understanding this. Anyone could be how could I say, sociopathic. You know, that's not a sexuality. Sociopathic behavior has nothing to do with your sexuality. But a lot of these people, like Peter Thiel, they may have alternative lifestyles that people were not aware of. Now, peep this.
Clavicular, where people are saying that he's actually very strange, and I'm going to talk to you about them in this video. Namely, the suspicious death of his boyfriend in 2023 and his connections to the streamer Clavicular, where people are saying that he's actually bankrolling him. So first off, just to give you some context of Peter Thiel, I want to show you just a little bit of background from this video from James Lee. He did a really good kind of breakdown of Peter Thiel's background and who he is. I'm going to show you this to give you the context, and then I'm going to show you some of the disturbing plans that Peter Thiel and Epstein were allegedly coordinating together, as exposed by the Epstein files.
Well, you know, somebody said, I see people in the chat, somebody said, I don't know who this is, John said, same as Obama's chef that drowned in Martha's Vineyard. Right. But Obama's a liberal, so liberals aren't anti-LGBTQ. So this is what I'm talking about right now. Like, you know, that these people have a party that is promoting quote unquote conservatism, but actually the people behind it are nothing like that at all. And there's an election coming up, and we need to confront those realities before this election, before it, not after. You see what I'm saying? You see what I mean? We need to get rid of some of the misnomers and some of the lies about who these people actually are and what they're really about. And I'll give you an example. Kamala Harris wasn't in the Epstein files. Trump was. But a lot of people that voted seem to think that Kamala Harris was the devil. Turns out that's likely a lot less true than Trump being the devil. But why did that happen? It's because of the online trolling. You see, the online trolls had people thinking about Kamala Harris's great-great-grandfather being a slave owner, which he wasn't, right? But they had people focused on that, and they didn't have people focused on what does Peter Thiel really want out of the U.S. government? What does Elon Musk really want out of the U.S. government? What is their plan with Jeffrey Epstein? What have they been discussing plans before with Jeffrey Epstein regarding the U.S. government? So the troll activity online controls a lot of the perception, you know. So people didn't even get around to saying, hey, Peter Thiel is actually LGBT, or he's actually queer. Look.
For the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
So this is Peter Thiel. Now, Kamala Harris could finish a sentence. You don't know what the fuck you talking about, John. But pay attention to this. Whether people complete sentences or not, she speaks way better than Trump. But let's stay focused, my friend. Let's stay focused on Peter Thiel. Okay? So you don't make the same mistake supporting people that support Peter Thiel again with your vote. That is, if you're even an American citizen. You probably aren't. But let's listen to this question again.
Allegedly coordinating together, as exposed by the Epstein files.
You would prefer the human race.
They were coordinating together, and this was not exposed by MAGA. However, MAGA was going around talking about her great Kamala Harris's granddaddy being a slave master in Jamaica, which was not true. You see where the problem is? We need to confront this before this election so people like you don't make the same mistake again, unless you're doing it on purpose.
to
Okay.
endure, right?
I don't you. Oh, he said I'm Desert Storm 1990. Oh, really? Okay, let me see something then. You Desert Storm? Maybe you are. Let's go check your channel and see. Let's see how proud you are of Desert Storm. Let's see. I think you should be proud if you were a member of the service. Why not, man? I support our service members. I got plenty of friends that were also in the military. My pops was in the military too. Grant. Oh, look. So you were in Desert Storm. What's up with you, man? Why don't you show how proud you are on your YouTube page about your service to the United States military? Why is your account only 5 years old? Why don't you have anything on there to verify who you are? Nothing about not even the fact that you even wearing a uniform. I mean, nothing. Not even a vague picture of anything. Yo, I think you should work that out, man. People are more likely to believe you if you do. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't. And listen, here you go. You can also hop up on the panel if you want to discuss that. But in any case, enough about you. Back to Peter Thiel and the mistakes the voters made. Let's pay attention now.
Kind of breakdown of Peter Thiel's background and who he is. I'm going to show you this to give you the context, and then I'm going to show you some of the disturbing plans that Peter Thiel and Epstein were allegedly coordinating together, as exposed by the Epstein files.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right?
I can turn your wildest ideas.
Oh, shit. Here we go. 2 seconds. You heard what the question was, right? Here we go. You would prefer the human race endure. That means survive, continue. That's what they asked Peter Thiel.
I'm going to show you some of the disturbing plans that Peter Thiel and Epstein were allegedly coordinating together, as exposed by the Epstein files.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
This is dark, right? It's saying you would like the human race to endure. He's like, the answer for any good human non-reptilian would be absolutely. Absolutely. I want the human race to prosper and persist. There's no...
So this is why I suggest to MAGA, you should drop the talking point about LGBTQ, drop the cultural war about, sexuality and getting into people's own personal bedrooms and things like that. Let's completely stay out of people's bedrooms. Let's, me, I'm a very private person myself, even though I'm a heterosexual male. I don't go around kissing and telling. You see what I mean? I actually have more class than that. And I'm also more private about that because I'm very conservative. You see what I'm saying? But at least I'm a heterosexual. MAGA, they're against LGBTQ. But here's a case where, again, it defies it because this person is, Peter Thiel is LGBT. He's a gay man, essentially, right? But when you ask him questions about other human beings, the average human being, listen to what he's saying.
This is a long hesitation.
This is dark, right?
I mean, this is part of Trump's, inner circle. This is the guy who put J.D. Vance in place.
You would like the human race to endure. He's like, the answer for any good human non-reptilian would be absolutely. Absolutely. I want the human race to prosper and persist. There's no version of this where you hesitate on that. I don't care what his justification is going to be. You want the human race to endure, right? Right?
So many questions implicit in this.
Should the human race survive?
Yes, the guy who is not so sure whether or not humans should exist. Now, some background on Thiel. He was the co-founder of PayPal alongside Elon Musk.
Now, you got to understand, Elon Musk is very much aware of Peter Thiel's background. It's not a secret to him. In fact, his own lifestyle was a secret to most people. Elon Musk's own lifestyle is a secret to most people. If you think Elon Musk is heterosexual, you might want to ask yourself why you assume that. Because has he ever told you?
He was also the first major investor in Facebook.
I'm not saying that's where the real problem lies. I'm just saying these people are running the game. Even Epstein. Is Epstein heterosexual? Because people allege, there's plenty of people that allege that he got his money from Wexner, because Les Wexner, because he was having a gay relationship with him. That's why he got his real startup possibilities. That's what folks are saying.
Book, coincidentally, I don't know if you know this, founded on the same.
Well, MAGA knows. Yeah, I see you, visionary. Yeah, I mean, myself, I don't know, but what I'm saying is that MAGA votes on these things. Trump votes on these things. They claim that they are conservative, Christian, right, this kind of stuff. This is what got Trump into power. So if we want to deal with this election coming up, we need to show these people that they've been taken for fools, that they've been taken bamboozled. You see what I'm saying? And to not just let it pass anymore, being bamboozled. You see, actually own up to it, put your foot down on it, and do something about it. You know what I mean? And stop diverting from somebody else did it. No, this is what's happening to you right now. You can't stop what's happening to you right now if you don't deal with what's happening to you right now.
Same day, DARPA ended their LifeLog program, which was a program sought to, quote, trace the threads of an individual's life in terms of events, states, and relationship. That sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? He also co-founded Palantir, a data analytics and surveillance company used by many government intel and military agencies, including the CIA, NSA, ICE, and the IDF. Now, Thiel, like Epstein, has been known to host a sex party.
Yeah, exactly. Both left South Africa when Mandela was released. Exactly.
Year 2 in his prime. Ben Goggins of NBC News wrote that Thiel's parties have been, quote, legendary in gay circles for years and repeatedly characterized as debaucherous, with Thiel himself being quoted as saying, yeah, we know how to have some no-holds-barred gay fun.
Now, look, I got no problem with anyone doing what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Sexuality, I accept whatever anybody wants to do, especially in the privacy of their own lair. But that is pretty hilarious. Yeah, we know how to have some no-holds-barred gay fun. I don't know if maybe some of those holds should have been barred. I don't know if some holds should be barred. But hey, you have all the gay fun you want. I'm in favor of that. But this guy's definitely dark.
Thiel has also been working on building his own.
I mean, is MAGA okay with that? That's what I'm curious, because this is who they got. You got Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. These are the two most powerful men behind Trump. Very simple. And they're getting every bit of your tax dollars every single day of the week. When you go out and you earn a penny, somebody comes and grabs that penny and say, give me that goddamn penny, and chops off a piece for Elon Musk and Peter Thiel.
An island in the French Polynesia to basically establish a kind of a non-governmental colony.
Always with the islands, right? These rich billionaires with their strange plans. Always with the islands.
Now, just to be clear, there's no record that implicates Thiel in Epstein's illegal underage sex trafficking operation. But what has been well documented now are their ties in academics and business.
I mean,
nobody is talking about this.
I don't know why there's no ties. It seemed like it's ties to me between them and Epstein. I mean, you think Epstein did everything? He wrote everything in an email, you know what I'm saying? Or said everything over the phone? No. Epstein, notice how they haven't offered any phone conversations, any recorded phone conversations up to the public yet. Notice that. They've only offered emails, right? Why is that? Because Jeffrey Epstein knew that emails people were more likely to come across them and be able to see them. It's just less secure, emails. But Jeffrey Epstein knows that. So really, when he wants to get down to the real nitty gritty, it's going to be face to face, or it's going to be over the telephone. That's what it's going to be. I mean, so people aren't really hearing the half, but they started off, you should notice, they're talking about these people had plans with each other. They definitely had plans with each other. And the plans that they're talking about is shit you need to be concerned about. It's talking about your privacy, being able to track people, right? Yeah, exactly. And also many other things. But here, it started off here. This is where it started off at. This is one simple place where Peter Thiel is letting you know who he is, and he's also letting you know, giving you an idea of what Elon Musk thinks, and he's also giving you an idea of what Jeffrey Epstein thinks.
He did a really good kind of breakdown of Peter Thiel's background and who he is. I'm going to show you this to give you the context, and then I'm going to show you some of the disturbing plans that Peter Thiel and Epstein were allegedly coordinating together, as exposed by the Epstein files.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
This is dark, right?
So, right there should already be a sign of trouble to people. But let's go right to the emails.
Life. I know a lot of geniuses who are just autistic guys who are good at math. Fair enough. Okay, still waiting for the 9/11 emails. Well, there's a whole bunch of 2001 emails that are missing, funnily enough. But that's conversation for another day. The last Epstein and Thiel connection here says Jeffrey Epstein and Peter Thiel discussing how returning culture back to tribalism will let them collapse the worldwide economy so they can buy everything at a bargain price. These guys just want everything for themselves, all right?
Yes. So when you think about how hard times are, think about they already thought about these things, Yeah, exactly. Clean up the earth. How do you clean up the earth? Getting rid of the poor people. I mean, but is that such a new thing according to Nazi ideology? No. Getting rid of the desirables, starving out the poor, starving out the drug addicts, starving out the undesirables too. Anybody that's not the ethnic mix that you want them to be, anybody that's not the sexuality you want them to be, anybody that's that, man, keep in mind, these people, they're completely absolved from it. They have the money to be immune from even their own plans. You see what I mean? I mean, that's how insidious it is.
So this is
they don't follow the same rules as they want you to follow. They don't have to because they're rich. That's what the whole point is.
Message from Jeffrey Epstein to Peter Thiel says, Brexit, just the beginning. Thiel said, of what? And Jeffrey said, return to tribalism, counter to globalization, amazing new alliances. You and I both agreed zero interest rates were too high. And as I said in your office, finding things on their way to the collapse was much easier than finding the next bargain. They want to buy everything at a discount. Okay, they want to buy all your stuff. They want to buy your home. All right, they want to buy absolutely everything you got going on. So people are in the comments saying, what's the point of growing your wealth when you're already a billionaire at the cost of others' lives? People are saying it's just a mental illness, just one approved by society. So Brexit and anti-globalism were the real conspiracy all along. Okay, very, very interesting. The logic behind this is as follows. I keep my network safe while I crush yours. I keep you at bay in small island-like local communities. I control the network connecting the isolated islands. You hate your neighbor, you hate the network. I move freely from island to island, and you lose control over the system I rule. Okay, they're saying this was Charles Manson's logic when he was running around with his family murdering people. They wanted to start a race war, then come out from hiding to, at the end, to rule. Thiel is just reading from Ayn Rand's draft of the...
And you can notice that by when you examine what the trolls are all about divide and conquer. All about either racism, some form of bigotry, never about what everyone has in common. Always about something divisive.
Same script, not realizing his bodyguards will have him hogtied in the broom closet of his bunker on day 2 of the apocalypse that he aims to bring about. That's crazy. Now look, okay, I don't want to get sued, don't want to get in trouble. This is just some public information, all right, and I'm not connecting any dots. But, okay, as I've discussed, there's been many suspicious deaths connected to Jeffrey Epstein, and there is a lot of talk at the moment about this suspicious death that is going on related to Peter Thiel. This is Peter Thiel's Instagram model boyfriend plunged to his death weeks after witnessing messy showdown between the billionaire mogul and his husband when he crashed the couple's New Year bash. What? Excuse me? Okay.
Wait a second.
Plunging to their death.
Wait a second. So, hold on. Let me just make sure I got this straight. If I go here and I put this here, okay, and then I go to here, let me just make this bigger. What the hell did this just say? It says showdown. What? Here we go. Okay. So it says showdown, exclusive Peter Thiel Instagram model boyfriend plunged to his death weeks after witnessing messy showdown between the billionaire mogul and his husband when he crashed couple's New Year's bash.
Okay. When he crashed the couple's New Year bash. What? Excuse me? Okay. Okay, another person plunging to their death. So basically, okay, it said married billionaire mogul Peter Thiel, whose male model boyfriend Jeff Thomas died after plunging from a Miami high-rise last month, had a messy confrontation with his husband during the couple's New Year's Eve party after Thomas was discovered among the guests, Daily Mail can now reveal. Thomas was in a 3-year relationship with PayPal co-founder Thiel, who put him up in a $13 million mansion tucked away in the Hollywood Hills, gifted him with lavish European trips, a $300,000 sports car, and the most coveted parties in town. Now their circle of friends believe that Thomas's death, a suspected suicide, was related at least in part to his depression over the incident after he was financially cut off from Thiel's largesse. The exchange took place when Matt Danesian, Thiel's husband and longtime partner, arrived separately to join their New Year's celebration, only to discover Thomas was one of partygoers at the posh event held at Thiel's Miami Beach compound. How you got compound? I didn't get that.
This is crazy. I mean, so Peter Thiel, you know, this is the odd thing about it. Look, now, just to let you know how the trolls roll. Obviously, I don't know how many of y'all have followed my channel, but periodically I get trolls that come through here and say something like, you know, congratulations for being so LGBTQ, or congratulations for being so, you know, things like this. And I think it's real strange because me, myself, I'm not actually, I mean, I don't have anything against somebody being LGBTQ. I got friends that are LGBTQ. I don't even give a damn. I'm worried. I'm focused on my shit, my stock. I'm focused on my kids. I'm focused on my relationships, my own relationships. I'm not worried about what somebody else is doing, right? So I always find it amusing when we talk about taxes, voting, rights, how trolls come into the sexuality thing. So I don't usually even discuss it, but I didn't know Peter Thiel was fucking gay. Like, I'm just saying, I didn't know. And you wouldn't know it because you don't hear the trolls that are likely paid for by these right-wing people. They never mention it. Now, why do you think that is? You see what I mean? Because they're out here programming and engineering social, societal thought. You know, they're actually trying to engineer it through the internet, you know? Yeah. And they definitely got these MAGA people by the nuts. I mean, MAGA people eat this right-wing stuff up every single day. And actually, it is really bizarre because they don't have any idea to the people they are just giving their freedom away to, you know? And Peter Thiel is one of those people. Now, you heard Peter Thiel say, when he was asked, what are your ideas about humans, you know, surviving in this quote unquote, you know, don't quote me, I'm sorry, but something to that effect. And he was like, nah. Why? Because they literally talk about eliminating large mass amounts of people. Like, listen, just listen to this. Peep this.
Dan Zeeson.
So while the point was this, while MAGA focuses on who's gay, they don't focus on who wants to kill people like them. That's the thing.
56 was enraged that Thomas was among the attendees and started a verbal confrontation with Thiel in front of a room full of guests. Apparently, the romance between the 55-year-old Thiel and the 35-year-old Thomas, 20 years his junior, was an open secret in elite gay circles, particularly LA. Thomas knew Thiel was married, but whether or not Dan Zeeson was aware of the relationship is uncertain. But during the confrontation, Dan Zeeson was heard asking Thiel, why is he here? Thomas showed up to the party because he had been Thiel's kept lover for years, though he wasn't on the official guest.
So you see, these are the money people behind the quote-unquote culture war in the United States of America. The culture war that doesn't want you to have access to education, doesn't want everyone to have access to health care, culture war that belittles people, families that are saying they need more affordable child care, belittles people that go to higher education and end up in debt from their education for their entire life. These are people who they belittle. The culture war belittles all of these people, right? But rewards others, right? And these people that are being rewarded, right? They don't have to follow the same rules of being belittled at all because they're filthy, stinking rich. Now, if you're going to have a culture war, at least have a real one. But these are the people behind MAGA's culture war. It's these people. Even Steve Bannon knows this shit, you know, and which is crazy. He knows about Epstein's, jamming with kids and also boys. He knows about Peter Thiel jamming with men, right? He knows about all of this shit. They all know, they know all about it. And yet MAGA has attached themselves to these people as if they're some sort of saviors when really they're bloodsuckers of the taxpayer. Like, seriously, it's crazy.
Guest list approved by Dan Zeeson. He went to the New Year's event anyway, a yearly event that the power couple are known and are famous for throwing. And basically a text message, a photo obtained from Daily Mail shows smiling Thomas at the party with friends Chris Farmer and Drew Schiff taken in the backyard of Thiel's property. So they would take messages. And
shit, I wish somebody, who is this? Oh, Tahilia says Peter Thiel was publicly outed as gay in 2007 by Valleywag, a gossip blog owned by Gawker Media. Well, MAGA sure didn't get the message. MAGA didn't get the message, and I'm just curious, like, when are they going to get the message? Because it's not just about Peter Thiel being gay. It's about the hypocrisy of their entire culture war, which they're waging on American citizens. And then the other thing is Peter Thiel got 3 passports. I mean, he's got 3 different citizenships. I mean, all of this shit is hypocrisy, yet they're able to benefit off the backs of American people and turn the average American person's life upside down. I mean, it's got to stop.
And it was looking all good for a minute. Okay, crazy, right? They got some shit going on behind the scenes over these here. Okay, it's a massive waterfront compound in Miami made up of 2 luxury homes put together. That is wealth on another level. Got 2 cribs put together. Just put them together. It's crazy. Okay, absolutely.
Sounds like they have a lot of guests.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful home.
I mean, these aren't homes you live at alone. You know what I mean? These aren't homes for 2 and 3 people. These are homes where you have a constant party at.
Crazy. Dan Zeeson was the person who arranged the guest list for the exclusive event. And that's what made the,
Caleb,
his
what's
side
up?
piece, I guess, a presence at the family home even more shocking and upsetting. Friends said Thomas would have never gone if he knew that Thiel's husband would be attending. Of course he was attending. Dan Zeeson requested Thomas be escorted.
I mean, what do you think about JD Vance? I started to call him a gay D Vance. Is JD Vance a heterosexual man, or is he a LGBTQ gay man posing as straight to get MAGA's votes, to get Appalachian Mountain votes? And if he is gay, then why is he waging this phony ass culture war? Like, what's up with that?
From the party by security.
This is JD Vance's main benefactor, Peter Thiel. They talking about.
Witnesses say the incident
Peter Thiel's gay lifestyle is what the topic is.
was publicly humiliating for Thomas. 100 guests attended the event at the lavish estate, and basically on March the 8th,
he played for both teams. I mean, and I'm just saying, why are these people so goddamn confused? Because look, if you're chasing around everybody else talking about LGBTQ keep in mind, they're ripping down LGBTQ who served in the military. Got to rip them down. Got to fire them if they got a job. Now, here's the weird thing. Here's the other interesting thing. They almost hate women even more than LGBTQ. I mean, I'm just saying, because they even go harder on women. It is crazy. And that might be because of this. Now think about this. Sasha Riley, he said Trump likes boys. He said that. Trump is into little boys, and I'm just saying, but then again, they're using this culture war. MAGA has invoked this Christian straight man. JD Vance is up there and playing with Jessica Kirk, acting like, is it that JD Vance is really just gay? Do you think JD Vance is getting down with his wife? Do you think that's real? Like, or is that just something, I mean, obviously they have kids together, but I'm just saying plenty of gay people have kids. You see what I mean? I'm just finding out about Peter Thiel being a gay man. And I just think it's worth talking about before we get into this next election, because there's a whole lot of shit that was out there about Kamala Harris. You see what I mean? People were saying shit like her granddaddy, great granddaddy was a slave master on Jamaica. Lie. But since people want to go all the way out there with the one woman who's ever served as a vice president in the country's entire history, since they wanted to go hard on her, I say, hey, fuck it. Let's go. Let's put everybody's shit out there. Let's make MAGA look in the mirror and look at who they are, you know?
Weeks after the showdown, Thomas died after falling from the balcony of his Miami high-rise in what police are investigating as a possible self-checking out, but the official cause of death has not been established. People said Thomas's mental health declined after the trauma of the New Year's Eve party. That's so sad. It is a mess, okay? Basically, Thomas felt compelled to talk about Thiel's hypocrisy as an actively gay man who's the largest funder of Donald Trump's MAGA movement. He described himself as a kept boyfriend of Thiel, who's estimated to be worth $8 billion. They apparently got romantically involved in late 2019 before COVID. Basically, they're saying the stunning model provided intimacy in exchange for financial support and stability. You already heard about the $13 million crib, the $300,000 car. He was living the lap of luxury. But after the New Year's Eve incident, he was cut off by Thiel. Thomas violated the terms of his non-disclosure agreement after he spoke to the media, and that's when their relationship began to fray. Now, that is a scary detail. Okay, he would open up about his struggles with mental health.
Yeah, see, I guess what it is that they don't want to be known as gay, right? They want to play the conservative. They like to play this who's the real American game. You know, the conservative, they like to play race, divide people by race, although race is not indicative. Color, I hate saying race, but you know what I mean. Color is not indicative of you being a real American. There's nothing special about American people's color, right? You could be any color and your family could have been there like my family in the, you know, during the colonial period or not. You could have came yesterday and be my color. You could look like Peter Thiel and your family could have gone back to the colonial period or not. You could have came yesterday. So there's nothing, you know, but they try to turn color into a marker of Americanism. Then they try to go with the identity thing of, you know, being white males and things like this. They try to further it. Now it's from the color to the male thing, right? And then they do the split up of women. You know, they don't protect women's rights. You see what I mean? They don't. They act like women could vote when, you know. But the truth of the matter is that women couldn't own property or vote early in the history of the country. You know, women have been set behind, you know, because of the same reasons that others have been set behind. It was unfair. It was a system made for men who own property. That's what it was. So everybody else had to play catch up, you know, and the further you are off from that, the more catch up you got to play. And women are one of those catch up groups, but they don't even acknowledge it. So they're removing women from the military who served in the military, firing them from jobs, pretending like they didn't earn the jobs just because they're women. I mean, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. And I'm just saying, could this explain it? You know, could this kind of shame, them being ashamed of who they are, could this explain it? Could they have issues with misogyny because they're gay men? Like, is that what this is about? I mean, you tell me. But I know for sure I don't see MAGA out there promoting none of the gayness that seems to be associated with these people. They never seem to talk about that, you know? I'm just saying.
Selfies of himself in a lot of places. He had a friend.
They claim to be Christian conservatives. I'm just saying, you know.
She had a Birkin. He was on that Peter Thiel program, okay? He was planning to become a Miami firefighter, but 48 hours before his death, he was FaceTiming his family, sharing excitement about completing his EMT course in his future in Miami. Doesn't really make sense. He did post a selfie in a plunge pool with the caption, "A cold plunge a day keeps the doctor away," with the hashtag cold plunge wellness mental health. Now, that doesn't sound like somebody that would want to check out, but hey, stranger things have happened. Okay, it is quite scary. It just makes you wonder what was really going on with these guys, right? Police report shared that Miami police were called to the luxury building in Brickell at 4:12 p.m. When emergency personnel arrived, his body was found on the pool deck outside the Icon Brickell complex, and he was pronounced dead by fire and rescue. His dog was taken by animal control, and his ex-girlfriend his ex-boyfriend would now be taking care of it. They said the investigation is ongoing. Okay, the detectives had been in contact with Thiel and planned to interview him as part of the probe, but there's no suggestion of any wrongdoing by Thiel, right? And I'm not suggesting there's any wrongdoing by Thiel, but it is a bit strange. Okay, it is a little bit strange.
Well, look at all the questioning. I mean, do you really think they question billionaires like that? I mean, I'm sorry. This crew of people seem to have a knack at getting totally away from any type of questioning regarding shit like this, deaths, and yeah, I mean, you tell me, do you think billionaires have an advantage in the criminal justice system inherently from step one, or do you think that that's overrated? Do you think they can easily get taken down when committing a crime? You tell me.
I did wonder why he was at Peter's party for New Year's when Matt had no idea who he was. That might make sense then. Yeah, it is a little bit strange. Okay, Thomas would speak in audio transcripts about his relationship with Peter Thiel. Did Peter want me to be his boyfriend? Yes, I think he fantasized.
Now that's another that's an interesting thing. You see this in audio transcripts. Okay, let me see. This is similar to Epstein. What happened with Epstein and Michael Wolff? You see what I'm saying? Look, Boyd was unable to provide further comment on Thomas' manner and cause of death, citing that the case is an ongoing investigation. In audio transcripts obtained by the dailymail.com, Thomas spoke about his relationship with Thiel. So did Peter Thiel want me to be his boyfriend? Yes, I think he's fantasized about being like me versus maybe Matt sometimes. But I think we can all love multiple people, he said. I tried to understand Peter Thiel's needs because he was understanding mine. I think he knew I needed help and I asked for it. And basically anything I asked, I could get. But Thomas also spoke about the downside of being kept. It is stressful. Peter wanted me to get, a nicer car, the nicer things. Yeah. So it's interesting how he did this audio interview, because this is the one that they're saying violated. I believe this violated the privacy disclosure agreement, but it is interesting to know that leading up to Epstein's death, he was doing audio tapes. He was doing audio recordings with Michael Wolff. So, I mean, I'm just saying,
about being like me versus maybe Matt sometimes, but I think we can all.
Who was he talking about? He was talking about Trump in those audio tapes. A lot of it.
Multiple people. I tried to understand Peter's needs because he was understanding mine. I think he knew I needed help and I asked for it, and basically anything I asked I could get. But he talked about the downsides of being kept. He said it's stressful. Peter wanted me to get, the nicest car, the nicest house. He wanted to show me his power, to kind of show that he had, me in his dollhouse. He would take care of me always. But I don't think it's satisfying to be kept during their.
Damn, Purple Groovy says, if you convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. Facts. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And it's sad, but it's on display. It is on display. And there's no better example of that than the game Trump has run on the people of Appalachia. You know what I'm saying? The people of the Midwest, the working class and poor white communities of the United States of America. I mean, they're able to do that. It's like a magic trick that never, ever fails. These people thought that they weren't getting food subsidies because it wasn't called, what was it not called? Food stamps. Then they found out that, damn, they cutting my food subsidies too. I thought it was just food stamps they was cutting. Like literally, this is what we're dealing with. A big percentage of the American electorate. But if that 80% that didn't vote, had they have voted, this percentage might be a lot smaller and a lot less significant if more people voted,
First intimate lunch at Thiel's home in the Hollywood Hills in late 2019. Thomas learned more about Thiel's relationship with his partner. I was shocked when they announced they were having kids together. He described himself as a proud pet dad. It was one of the first lunches we had at Matt's place, and we were sitting outside, and I said, do you like dogs? He said no. And I said, well, I don't trust you. People are crazy about their dogs. It is interesting. The photo of him in the plunge pool taken the day he died was timestamped 11:43. The billionaire financier met Thomas in 2015-16 at the Coachella Festival, and Thiel was dating a boy named Francesco Fran Lugli. Thiel broke off his relationship with Lugli when he decided to marry Dan Ziessen, and they got married in Vienna, Austria. They recently became parents of baby girls born by surrogate, which is really interesting. Apparently, part of their arrangement includes
baby girls
to his partner and best
baby girls born by surrogates.
friend. Clearly, that didn't work out. Okay, Thiel
Is that a right-wing Christian dynamic going on there? Do they believe in surrogate births? Christian, right-wing, Christian Bible Belt, United States?
Decided to marry Dan Ziessen, and they got married in Vienna, Austria. They recently became parents of baby girls born by surrogate, which is really interesting. Apparently, part of their arrangement include Thiel remaining faithful to his partner and best friend. Clearly, that didn't work out. Okay, Thiel and Lugli remained friends long after. Thiel hooked him up with a cushy job at a data mining spy tech firm, Palantir Technology. You know all about Palantir.
Data mining spyware.
Really, really sad, quite suspect and suspicious situation that just does make you think. Okay, now bring us to today. Okay, Peter Thiel is now apparently putting some money behind another cute-looking young man. All right, very handsome, desirable, looks maxer, Clavicula. People are saying that Thiel had actually begun actively pursuing Clavicula. I don't know if it's romantically or if it's more financially, but something's going on.
Peter Thiel is? Peter Thiel, yeah. He's a billionaire that owns Palantir. I got invited to a Peter Thiel party. You think that's going to be a Diddy party? Probably.
Oh, shit. Hold on. I got to play that one back. That is crazy. I want to I never knew Peter Thiel was gay like this, but apparently he is. And since he has a lot of influence in the Trump White House, I never heard Trump talk about this. I think it should be talked about. There must be a reason why Trump doesn't talk about this, So let's see what they say right here. This is wild. Let's go.
I got invited to a Peter
looks maxer, Clavicula, or if it's more financially, but something's going on.
Peter Thiel is? Peter Thiel, yeah. He's a billionaire that owns Palantir. I got invited to a Peter Thiel party. You think that's going to be a Diddy party? Probably.
Yeah.
Billionaires, they get a little creepy. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I don't want to get diddied. Hey, anybody that's do you know who?
You might get more than diddied at the Peter Thiel party. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Now, Clavicula later claimed that he was actually blacklisted from Thiel's exclusive events after publicly referring to them as Diddy parties. Maybe the truth hurts, I don't know. But he was blacklisted after saying that.
Yeah, man. I gotta be on the grind, bro. They hate me if I don't stream.
Yo, I see you're like everywhere, bro. You're with fucking Nelk, you're with fucking 6ix9ine.
Yeah, bro.
Fucking Peter Thiel trying to get in your.
Dude, that was the craziest one. I swear.
You played that perfectly, bro.
Yeah, wait. Are we supposed to? Did she say it that way? Yeah, she said to go that way. Yeah, I got blacklisted from his events now. That's what I heard.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Hey, what's up, guys? Yep.
Blacklisted from the Thiel Diddy parties, the Tiddy parties. Maybe not the Tiddy parties.
All right, so there we have it. I just wanted to illustrate the bullshit, the scamming that the American public has been put under. I mean, right now you have a so-called right wing. They promote religion. You even heard Trump say today in his State of the Union address, religion is back. Yeah, and it's going to be bigger and better. Okay. They use all these concepts. He's talking about immigrants. They use all these concepts to divide people. But the truth of the matter is that they're not, I don't even want to call them liberal, but Trump, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk are extremely liberal when it comes to their own lifestyles that they keep private from their voters, from their support base. And it's not just that they're liberal. That's not the problem I have with them. My problem is that they're way more liberal. Like, you might end up dying and they think it's okay. You know what I'm saying? They into sex trafficking and they might think it's okay. People into sex trafficking, they just may not notice it. You see, because the common theme here is that when people have loads and loads of money, they tend to think they can get away with anything, and often do. That's what I'm trying to illustrate. That's another level of liberalism. We're not talking about the gay person that just wants to be left alone and be who they are, that's not rich, that still needs health care or still needs an education or still needs fair housing. We're not talking about the single mother who, by the way, needs single housing, right? That's also liberal. You know, she may not be married, right? She may be a single mother, right? That's liberal also, but there's commonalities that we all have. She still needs fair housing, still needs, you know, a decent wage or a dignified wage that can 40 hours a week can pay for the bills and pay for the mortgage or pay for the rent in the area where she works. You see what I mean? Liberal is a whole bunch of things, but it seems like the common thing here is that these people, it's not that they're liberal. MAGA doesn't even have a problem with Trump being liberal. MAGA doesn't have a problem with Peter Thiel being liberal. That's the hypocrisy in it. MAGA is okay with them being liberals themselves, right? What attracts MAGA to these people is that they use Christian nationalism as a theme to cover themselves, to cover their to mask their liberalism. They're way more liberal than liberals. You see what I mean? They're dangerously liberal. You know, if you could say that, you see what I mean? And also hypocrites, because they don't want you to know who they really are, how they view the world, and how they view you, the broke ass voters, as being different from them. They don't even believe that they have to be honest with you, and they don't, and they haven't been, because it's worked just fine. So on that note, I'm going to be out, folks. I'll be back later on today. Guess what? I got a few days off. Yes. I love it. I love it. I will be back. But until then, I will see y'all back soon in a few hours. Appreciate everybody for coming out. Click the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And register to vote. Call today to find out if you're registered to vote, right? Let's take care of that before the election, because you might find out too late. And you don't want that to happen to you this time around. I appreciate y'all. Peace.
But I just back away real cool, no fussing. I'd rather go
impeach Trump
in the streets with the bombs and use the knowledge to collect some funds.
Open a non-profit
and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic,
but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do.
So sit back and let me spit this shit to you.
It feels better when I spit this shit to you.
Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people.
The people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil that lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem.
So let's go down.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak,
but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats, yo.
We smoke weed, break up trees. Listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. Wanted to see us on board, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Benny, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. Tenderoni, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey, kinda like Sigourney. Implore me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas. Go figure, it's the card. They call me Uncle Bigger. Niggas love your blunts, down your liquors. I be the parallel to the fiction. You fixated on this brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange the whole concept. Yo, it's good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics. Just atomic, it bleeds like a bonnet. Cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the Bugatti type of scale. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? It's still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just bury. Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable diction. My style might vary, so get a hold of your own shit real fast. Fucking with us, we take it right out your ass. Prairie dogs chill while those other dogs howl. Too many dogs get sent to the pound. Back on the hill, me and my peeps just lounge. Prairie dogs, we keep it on the down. Splatter, don't like gun splatter. We try to climb the ladder, wicked men get better. They make it like splatter, but it really don't matter. Cause you know we coming back to our sons and our daughters. So father him the one who protects ya, and the mother she will never neglect ya. Through divine nature the people respect ya, and in this way I deliver my lecture. Feelings I never felt in my life. It's hard to explain what I'm going through is new. I'm good looking, clean up well, but without this fine young little lady, I'm still in hell. She's brown skinned, Eritrean. Love every second of the time that we spend. We're good friends, there's no need to pretend. The way she walks and moves her hips, those smooth curves, I just love to kiss. It's Sunday morning, make her breakfast in bed, bring her a latte and chill up in the spread, and manifest all the thoughts in my head. The comforter of my life. You know what? She may not know what I want her to be my wife. It was my finest wish to stay the night. She's doing fine on her own, about to buy a home. Me, I'm working out some shit, but I've grown. I'm working hard to keep things right. Focus on my music so we can have a life outside of the system and the bright lights. She feeds me juice and curry when I'm hungry. Caress me on my body, it feels lovely. A lot of pain that I took on in my life, I need you to make it right. Need you to make it right. The feelings I'm feeling, it's real in my life. I know you're something special, want you to be my wife. All I need to know is will you treat me right. I wanna make love tonight. The feelings I'm feeling, it's real in my life. I know you're something special, want you to be my wife. All I need to know is will you treat me right. I'm gonna make love tonight. Brown eyes, caramel skin, beautiful face, where do I begin? Your hips, they keep making me excited. Your breasts, just how I like it. If you're the key to my life, then will you be there for me? All I'm asking is will you trust in me? It's complicated, but I wanna do it right. If we keep true to the love, we can make life. Your destiny is to be with me. I'm waiting for you to be one with me. Your soulmate, I would do anything for you. Baby girl, it's you I adore. Word life, you are my life. I won't deal with nothing that's strife. We're gonna spend all our time together, me and you, girl, forever. The feelings I'm feeling, it's real in my life. I know you're something special, want you to be my wife. All I need to know is will you treat me right. I wanna make love tonight. The feelings I'm feeling, it's real in my life. I know you're something special, want you to be my wife. All I need to know is will you treat me right. I'm gonna make love tonight.